Good evening, chat. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday night show. Episode 152. That's right, chat. You heard it. 152. We are slowly marching our way towards 3 years of really doing this in a sincere way. So it's going to be great coming up. It'll be great coming up, chat. But welcome to everybody. Welcome, everyone. Yeah, new shirt. Yes. Had to put on a nice shirt for the show. No, I don't think you guys understand it. When I get my hair cut short, I get all the little itchies and they annoy me. And they're really bad and I want to jump off a cliff. So I had to shake out my hair and get it all out of there. So so welcome, guys. Welcome to Thursday Night Show. My name is Sean, also known as Potentially Criminal. I am an attorney in the Cleveland, Ohio area. And tonight we got a lot of legal stuff to talk about. And as you can see, reading from, we got some interesting things here, some Second Amendment stuff. We got Alex Jones back in the house. You know, Infowars survives another day. It is an interesting thing here. We've got a lot to talk about. Somebody said they charge $2 per corner for haircuts. All right, chat. So I wanted to get into a couple things here. Self-defeatist. He said, I'm surprised Sean isn't covering the whole US AID thing. I will be. Yes, we are finding out U.S. foreign aid was funding feminist frequency, was being used to go to Thomson Reuters. We found it was going to all kinds of domestic organizations who are then doling it out to their pet project groups like the Giffords campaign, anti-gun groups, all kinds of organizations were slush funding money around and it was bouncing everywhere. If you guys look at the one, and we'll be going through it, you'll see the fingerprints of George Soros everywhere. You'll see like the Tides Foundation in some of these, and it's like, And the Charles Schwab Equitable Trust. You're like, what the hell is all this stuff? What is all this stuff? Makes you wonder. Makes you wonder. So, yeah, it is an interesting thing. But we will be getting to it. We will be getting to it soon. And yes, I do want to say yes, as somebody did point out. Yes, total glowy bankruptcy. Yes, and Sneed rolls right. The PSYOP budget. Total PSYOP death. That's what we're looking at right now, chat. TPD. Total PSYOP death. Total glowy bankruptcy. It was a CIA slush fund, yes. Now, to be fair, USAID did have an actual objective to help put foreign development out there with US dollars. It was a thing. But why is it doing stuff here in America? It's kind of the issue. So, and they had a great narrow goal. And then the commies got involved and they went like this, shoop, and opened the field of view and just let the money go everywhere instead of going shoop, and keeping it narrow. So, yes, the Open Society Foundation. Yes. Yep. All the Lefty Journal papers are funded by. Well, the whole thing I didn't understand was the whole Politico thing. You know, Politico, it's like, oh, they have Politico Pro. It's a tool that allows government, you can track government policy and legislation and what's going on. I'm like, you work for the government. You are the government. You're telling me like cabinet level agencies can't have like a guy they hire to just scour house.gov and senate.gov and go, I'm going to download all this and put it into a document. Like, why are we giving private companies money to do that? Really? Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? Angela says, I wish I could toss my bank account in there. Well, you know, to be fair, it's never going to get stomped out all the way. So give it time. Joe Schmo says, hello, over on Rumble. I mean, he also says, poor George Soros. He thought he was the number one funder of the Soros attorneys. To be fair, they're doing his bidding. There's a reason why all this stuff is going to left-wing groups. Like, no, everybody's like, this was all part of the plan. This allowed George Soros not to spend his own money. Why spend your money when you could spend someone else's money? It totally makes sense that way. Totally makes sense that way. But they've been paying Clyde off an endangered animal peens. Well, yes. Yes. So we will we'll get to that in another show, Chad. It's just not something here now. We're gonna just take some time to get to it. So we'll get to that. And guys, welcome if you're here. We are live on YouTube, of course, because that's where we are right now. We're also live on Rumble, and we're also live on Locals. And we're live on Twitter as well. Hello to the 57 Ghost on Twitter watching me. Once again, Elon, you're doing your part to make me feel wanted and needed. Thank you for putting those fake accounts out there. And then last but not least, chat, we are live on Locals. If you guys don't know Locals, it's everything people wanted Patreon to be, but it wasn't. So if you go to potentiallycriminal.locals.com, you can hang out there, guys. We talk, people post articles and questions and hang out and have fun. We have our own little chat there that's running all the time. It's a great time there. And then we also do some live shows. I do 2 live shows a week there, every Monday night and then every Thursday night. So after this one, we're going to go hang out over at Locals. And those, chat, though, are for people who support me. It's $3 a month. For that $3 a month, you get access to those shows. If you don't want to support me in that regard, if you don't wish to support me, that's okay. You can still become a member for free, and you can have access to everything else. And access to everything else also includes, like, if Jim Medicare goes live, we'll snipe him and hang out and have a fun time. If there's Formula One stuff going on, we'll be doing that. And guys, it's almost Formula One season again. How cool is this? Like, this is awesome. We're almost back to it, chat. We're almost back to Formula One season. Sadly, though, we're going to watch Lewis Hamilton drive Ferrari into the ground. God, I hope the Barcelona tests are not an indicator of things to come, because the Scuderia is going to have a rough year. Oh, boy. Anyway, enough for lamenting about Ferrari. But we do hang out over there. It's at potentiallycriminal.locals.com. If you guys want to try free access, you can use the promo code WHIPPIT, WHIPPIT, like the nitrous oxide whippets that are in whipped cream. Not Whippet, WHIPPET, which is a greyhound-like racing dog known for its speed. Not that kind of whippet. The kind of whippet that gets you high. Use that as the promo code, and you'll have access for 1 month. There's no obligation afterwards. Hope to see you over there, though. Aaron says, you'd be very proud of us if you go back and read your chat when Core TV was there. Yes. Yes, I was graced by Core TV in the middle of the ASAP Rocky trial, which was really fucking cool. Really cool. I mean, I truly am flattered. I appreciate it very much. And I will say this much. If we're watching trials from now on, I kind of just used Law and Crime all the time because it was just Law and Crime. We're using Core TV, man. Core TV showed up and was like, big ups. Like Core TV showed up and was like, that's good enough for me, man. That's good enough for me. I appreciate it. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the love. So, I mean, I don't know how you can't not. I don't know how you can't not appreciate the love in that regard. How fast will 2.0 leave when she's off the payroll? Well, I don't know. I don't think she's going to do the buyout. Although it'll be really awkward because she's on she's undercover right now handling me, and but here's the problem, guys, that the feds are worried about me causing problems. Well, Trump's going to be like, what's this file say? Sean's going to try to overthrow the government and take down the FBI. Be like, based. He'll be like, Elon, don't go into the FBI building. Let this fat guy in Ohio take care of it. And they'll just let me loose. So I don't know, man. It'll be like Hannah Montana. It'll be the best of both worlds, really, chat. It will be the best of both worlds. Eric Kush's drag race is almost back too. Yes. Ron says, I'm not a ghost. Ron, how you doing? Thanks, Ron. Oh. Charles is going to roll Hamilton. I hope so. I hope so. So, where's, oh, hold on here. Hey, Bubba. You come here. Hey. Come here, Clyde. Hey, Clyde. Clyde. Hi, buddy. Hi. What? Yeah, we'll get him in a second. We'll get him in a second, chat. Yeah, Court TV does drop into the crew time chats from time to time. Awesome. Yeah, I know that I've seen it, but it's nice to stop by here. Oh, we do have a special guest. We have our special guest, the chairman of the Republican Party, Mr. Clyde. Hi, Bubba. How you doing? You got anything you want to talk about now? You know, you got concerns about USAID? You got concerns about other things that Trump's doing? Yeah, I know you're like, what's that? Hands off Gaza. Woof. I get it. Hands off Gaza. Totally, I understand. Not a fan of that one. Not a fan of that one. But hey, you know, we can't bat 1,000. Pam Bondi. Yeah, I know he's not looking forward to that with her doing stuff there. So Clyde just wants to talk about the fight on Endor. Yeah, he doesn't need to. There. That's got some doggo ASMR. Yeah, there you go. Anyways, chat, if you guys are new, this is Clyde. He's such a good boy. He's the doggo. And guys, if you join as a member here on YouTube, you get access to the emojis. Oh, you wanna lay back, Bubba? Oh yeah, he's like, I'm getting high now, and he's just like he's gonna flop out. The heckin' doggo. Yes, Clyde is so intellectual. Yes. What's this? He just wants his hotel to stretch from the river to the sea in Gaza. Yes. It's okay, buddy. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. All right, chat. So, Linda Lee says doggo. Yes. Yes. All right, guys. So we've got a very important thing to talk about tonight. And you know what? I think Ethan Ralph has got the ear of the president. Because there's some good stuff that came out. And if you guys didn't hear this today, check this out.
So these are the tax priorities of the Trump administration that the president has laid out for members in that meeting today. No tax on tips, which is obviously a very public campaign promise that the president made. No
tax-free, kids. Oh yeah, tax-free, bitch.
No tax on seniors' Social Security. No tax on overtime pay. Renewing President Trump's 2017 middle-class tax cuts. Again, these are the president's priorities. Adjusting the SALT cap, eliminate all the special tax breaks for billionaire sports team owners, close the carried interest.
That's a fuck you to Mark Cuban.
Tax deduction loophole, tax cuts for made in America products. This will be the largest tax cut in history for middle-class working Americans. The president is committed to working with Congress to get this done. So
tax-free, kids, tax-free. I guess Ralph was really out there, man. Suffer, IRS. Suffer. And Haschick says, my 83-year-old dad has the hots for her so bad. Well, yeah, yes. All right, chat. Well, I thought we'd start off there. Tax-free, bish. Tax-free. Now, we'll start off on a very celebratory note tonight. If you guys didn't know, Alex Jones, remember, he is facing issues with his lawsuit against the Sandy Hook families who sued him because they claimed he said it was a hoax. Never said that. And they got a $1.5 billion judgment against him. Remember, Alex Jones has a bigger judgment against him and bigger financial penalty than Boeing did for the 737 MAX incident, where hundreds of people died. Keep that in mind. Think about that, chat. Think about that. Hey, buddy, I got to put you down because you're kind of hogging all my arms. You can't touch anything up here while you're working. Okay? So, got to put you down. So anyway, chat, the Frogman, as part of his case, basically got railroaded. You guys remember Norm was his attorney up there, and yeah, they basically got screwed, and they also got screwed in Texas. Well, eventually they went after Free Speech Systems, which is the parent company that owns Infowars, and they were going to take all of it. And remember, the Sandy Hook families were saying, we're going to use this and give it to the Onion, and that way they can walk around in the skin suit of Infowars and run it into the ground. Well, that left with a problem because they jerked around the bidding system, and Alex Jones fought because, his company that got together to go after his stuff and buy it back was defeated by the bankruptcy trustee because it wasn't what they were doing right. And the judge said, yeah, sorry, no, you don't just get to give the Sandy Hook families whatever they want and screw over Alex Jones. So remember, they had the only bid that was all cash. It was $3.5 million. The Sandy Hook families and the Onion were willing to take $1 million, and then this like nonsense of unrealized gains as a value. And well, the judge spoke out against that. Going forward. And it's only so good, chat. It's only so good. Eric Foams is the Frogman. Yes, because he talked about how they're turning the frogs gay. He's the Frogman. Alex Jones. And remember, guys, there was a while you couldn't talk about Alex Jones here. Like, you couldn't talk about Alex Jones on YouTube. You get nuked. But you can now. Anyway, Steve Gosney, how you doing, man? Hope you're doing well. Guys, Steve Gosney in chat. It's been a while, man. Like I said, hope you're doing good. And, hope you're doing well down there in Miami. So, yes, and also remember, as one of the Sandy Hook family people, one of the FBI agents got an $88 million out of it because he cried. I don't know why, but yeah. I can't believe Alex Jones shot all those kids. Let me make a paste if that was true. Oh. All right, what is this here? Oh, I can't. Okay, I can't play that Demon's Wrath. No, I can't play that. So anyways, we are going to move on because they were just in court this week. And guess what happened? It was a day of reckoning for the Sandy Hook families. They have to suffer now. The shooting was a hoax, and their attempt to buy the company is another hoax. Suffer, families. Suffer. You got all the globalists right there. They just don't understand what's going on. They try to mess with the bankruptcy system, but, the judge saw through and told those interdimensional psychic vampires, no. When he saw him, his spirit went, ah! Ah! To quote the song. And the judge did see hell rising up around us. Oh, so the judge denies the Sandy Hook family's deal for a new auction of Alex Jones's Infowars. And it warms your heart. It warms your heart. Couldn't happen to nicer people. Really. And I'm not joking. Couldn't happen to nicer people. So what happened ultimately? Well, it went in front of the judge because there was hijinks in the bankruptcy court. So the bankruptcy court rejected a deal that would have cleared the way for a second attempt to auction off the Infowars company. And it's a delay to the Sandy Hook family seeking to collect any of the $1.3 billion in damages they won after suing Alex Jones for defamation nearly 7 years ago. Well, since they're crisis actors, they should be able to get work. Their SAG card should still be good. You'd like to think so, at least. The family said Jones' conspiracy theory said the 2012 shooting never happened. Not true. And that the 26 children educators weren't killed prompted his followers to stalk, harass, and threaten them for years. Not his fault. He didn't do that. So families did sue for defamation in Connecticut, and others sued in Texas. And after Jones refused to cooperate at trial, which not true again, The judges in each state found him liable by default, which is bullshit. But sadly, those are going to be held up because he's unpopular. So these decisions drove Alex Jones himself and his companies to file for bankruptcy. So what happened? That's the backstory, Chet. That's your backstory there. That's your backstory. That's your backstory. So this is what the judge ended up talking about. He said he shut down any arguments from lawyers at the start of what was expected to be a day-long hearing. He immediately ruled that he can't approve the deal because it relates to assets of Infowars' parent company, Free Speech Systems, which is no longer in bankruptcy. The judge is only overseeing Jones's personal bankruptcy. And he said approving the proposed deal would require him to overstep his authority. Yes, that's right, chat. Free Speech Systems is no longer in bankruptcy, so you can't force a sale of something that's not part of a bankruptcy anymore. Bankruptcy courts have a lot of power, but their power is limited to the bankruptcy, and things outside of the bankruptcy might as well be on the moon. So, sucks to suck. Sucks to suck. Crisis actor your way out of this one, fuckers. And he says, all bankruptcy lawyers know that I can't do that. He says, there's no bankruptcy claim. And he says that case is closed. Oh, womp, womp, womp. He says, I don't want any more contingencies. If there's going to be a sale, cash will be king, which is normally how it goes. His decision suggests the action can only sell Jones's ownership stake in Infowars and not any of the Infowars assets that were listed for sale in the first bankruptcy auction, such as the recording equipment, domain names, and its vitamin and supplement online store, where you can buy Alpha Brain. Keep yourself running at top shape. Super male vitality. He says, I'm not allowing the sale of the assets anymore. Ah! This is an example of what happens when you fuck around. The Sandy Hook families fucked around, and now the judge is helping them find out. They wanted to play all these games and be cute and let the Onion fuck around in it, and they're like, oh, we'll jerk the bid system around. And the judge's like, fuck you guys, we're done doing that. We're done doing all this shit. We're done. He says, this is a reversal from the previous position. The assets fall under the trustee and is heightening frustration and confusion among those involved. I'm sure, you know what confused everybody involved? When the highest cash bid wasn't accepted. It remains unclear how much bidders may be willing to pay for only the equity of a company facing massive judgments. And it seems to be inviting attorneys to try to seize assets through state courts. Even though Judge Lopez sternly put a stop to such efforts last summer. Remember, chat, when a bankruptcy's going, you can't fuck with the items in a bankruptcy. The bankruptcy court has that kind of power. Basically, it'll stop any kind of court action, except like a criminal prosecution. Bankruptcy judge is very powerful, but one of the most powerful people in America is a bankruptcy trustee. They can pretty much do whatever the hell they want. They're very powerful. The judge also said he would not approve another auction bid containing a non-cash component, like the one the Connecticut family submitted in the last auction. And here's the thing, and this they break it down a little more. In that deal, the Onion, in conjunction with the families, offered half as much cash in the only other bid against First United American Companies, which is affiliated with Alex Jones at his online stores. But the Onion bid also included a sweetener. The families would forgo some of their proceeds in order to raise the amount that other creditors, including the Texas families, could collect. In December, Judge blocked the sale, saying both bids were too low, and citing concerns that the Onion only amounted to a contingency bid that was not allowed. And since then, FUAC was planning to more than double its offer to $8 million. And the Onion was also expected to significantly increase its bid. And include a similar sweetener. But the judge said, we're not doing that shit. And he says, I was asked to approve a sale that had a contingency. And he says, I don't want any more contingencies. Cash is king. That's the way it should be. Put your fucking money down. How much money do you guys want to fucking spend? And the poor plight of the families here. This leaves the families unsure how to best recover their damages and whether they will have any other way to help boost the Onion's bid to turn Infowars into a parody of itself and to advocate for measures aimed at curbing gun violence. Suffer, you fucking cocksuckers. Suffer. You know, you wanted to make it a parody and you made a parody of yourself. You made yourself the meme. You locked yourself in the crystals. Bro. You guys locked yourself in the crystals. That's not good. That is not a good way to do it. Oh. So. John Well Done says the last government auction I went to went in cash by the end of business day. Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Yeah, it's very rough out there when you do stuff in the real world. So. Oh. So what else happened here? So the families have said they are less interested in any financial windfall than they are in shutting down Infowars and stopping Jones from continuing to spew the kind of conspiracy theories that are mainly true that harmed them. It didn't really harm them. The families that followed suit in Texas have been more inclined to take their money and fuck off. So under the settlement rejected Wednesday, the Texas families would have started getting payouts immediately. It would have also said how the families had divvied the proceeds from the sale, 25% for Texas and 75% for the Connecticut group. And before the auction, the families had said the sale was bringing them closer to their goal of holding Alex Jones accountable for the harm he has caused. Suffer, you commies, you Connecticut commies. Goddamn New Englanders, chat. Goddamn New Englanders. Yes. And Alex Jones hailed the decision on his live show Wednesday, saying, the judge completely devastated. The force is trying to bring him down. Quickly pivoting to tell his followers to buy his products. Takes a lot of money to fight these people. Now we're at the thick of the battle. I need you to back me. So there we go, chat. There we go. There we go, chat. There we go, chat. Eric asked a question. What if they didn't list on the BK and are trying to collect on a bankruptcy? Am I shit out of luck? Depends. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It all depends how it was done. So, super male vitality. Super male vitality. I'm kind of a retard. So that's what you get for fucking around, though. That this is really what happens yet. That's what happens when you screw around, chat. Eventually, it bites you. In chat, we did have a goal tonight already. And for hitting that teal goal, Elon will personally fire 10 FBI agents. So what happened? Skinny for $5 goes, huh? 5 FBI agents, or 10 FBI agents, gone. EDW Raptor says, hit the goal, chat. KMW has been a member for 6 months. Thank you for being here. Saying, are there legal consequences to this USAID actions? It depends. There may be some point, but for right now, no. Right now the web is being uncovered, but soon there probably will be charges. Somebody probably did something illegal. Stephen Cooper says, hear me out, guys. Hear me out. Don Draper style. We make Gaza a hog farm and processing facility the likes of the world has never seen. Maybe. Maybe, chat. Maybe. Oh, so. But yes, guys, that is right now kind of where Alex Jones is. The Frogman is victorious for now. That doesn't mean he's going to be perfect. He's going to have to deal with what's going on. But he is trying, and he is trying to make things work. So, good luck, Frogman. You are hanging in there. You are doing God's work. Keep your head up. Keep your head up. So, Oh, chat. Oh, chat. I just don't know some days. Some days with you guys, I just don't know. I just don't know. Why won't my collar sit? There we go. They finally sit flat. All right. So that's one thing down. Now, this one here, this is a bit of one where I'm kind of like a little concerned here. Okay. And why am I upset about this? Well, ultimately, this is a kind of funny. I mean, in a way, like it. So here's guy. This is gonna sound funny, but it should be very sobering, I guess. And first, before we get into the story, we're gonna have to talk about the state of New York, because the state of New York is interesting, and I learned this by doing the research on this. You can be a judge, and what they call a town or a village justice. I mean, you don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be a lawyer. Now, these courts, you could be a non-lawyer and you can sit on these courts. You could be on a city court, a county court, a family court. You could be on various courts in the state. But it's mainly you're stuck at the town and village level. So they basically do things like, if you guys in like Ohio and other states, they're called like mayor's courts. They basically look at speeding tickets, they driving while in top DUIs, small claims like eviction proceedings, and other misdemeanors. Okay. They also can handle the arraignments of people charged with felonies. They might set bail and protection orders. But they are locally financed and operated. So they're the only types of judges who don't have to be lawyers to be admitted to the practice of law. And of like in New York, there's like 1,800 of them. Only 700 have been to law school. But that, like, back in the colonial era, that was common. You didn't have enough lawyers. Now you got too many. But there are other states that do this. Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Louisiana, South Carolina, and Mississippi are just some of the states that do have non-attorney judges and magistrates that are out there. So they do hold power over people. They do hold important cases. There are a lot of things here to... This is a big, big issue. And it's something you should think about. Because what do we have here? Well, this judge, this justice up in New York, he tried to get out of jury duty. And what he said cost him his job. So it's interesting. It's interesting what happened here. So this all focuses on a justice for a town in Petersburg, New York. And he told the local news that he would be fair and honest on the bench. Because he was not a lawyer, he said he was looking forward to learning about the law. And he just learned something about it the hard way. Yes. So he ran unopposed in 2013. But in December, he resigned after a disciplinary panel found that he had tried to get out of grand jury duty by introducing himself as a town justice and saying he cannot be impartial based on his opinion of those who appeared in his court. And right here, this is, I think people who skip out of jury duty are a piece of shit. But here's what he said. He says, I know they're guilty. When he was trying to get out of the transcript, he's like, they would not be in front of me otherwise. Now, you guys may laugh at that, but think about it. He was a judge and he did this. If he was joking, that's fucked up. But I mean, there's a likelihood it was real. Everybody came in front of him, he fucked over. Not a good thing. The other judge, though, following his rules of conduct, remember one of the things as attorneys, because remember that judge, who's involved in this, has his legal obligations, said, Oh, wow, misconduct in front of me. I have to report it. So this is him. This is Richard Snyder. And he says the remarks which were made in October of 2023 led to a formal complaint where a window in the world of New York's hundreds of these courts where traffic tickets and petty crimes are adjudicated by people who are not always steeped in legal basics. And that's a concern. So, and they point out there's no place on the bench for someone who so deeply misunderstands the role of a judge in the administration of justice. Although, to be fair, if you ask a lot of people, they feel like most judges feel this way, and that the justice system generally treats everybody this way. So is it like, depending on who you're asking, this isn't really that big of a change because we kind of already have this. Like I said, it all depends on who you're asked. It depends on who you ask, chat. And I'm sure you guys have heard this before. A lot of people think the system's already crooked. So, there are times where it's like, that's a problem. Now, he alone probably should have been excused because he is a judge or he is a justice. Like, I think that you'd not want him on a jury. Like, you should have excused him for cause. I don't know why they really went any further than that, but he opened his fucking mouth. And I'm glad he outed himself because I don't want somebody like that on the fucking bench. So he earns about $6,000 a year to hear cases on the second and fourth Tuesday each month. His term is scheduled to end on December 31st. He represented himself before the commission and had no previous disciplinary history, according to Robert Tembechian, the administrator of the Disciplinary Council on the Judicial Conduct Commission. But yes, there are... there's so many states that allow these lay justices. It's like, ugh. So anyway, it's a town of only 1,400 people near the Vermont and Massachusetts borders, about 30 miles east of Albany. He has lived in the town his whole life and is a longtime volunteer firefighter there, graduating from high school and did not attend college. Like, they had to throw that fucking in there just to be dicks. And he said, everybody in town likes me. Everybody in town likes me. Okay. And he said, I have never lost an election in town. Okay, that's not impressive. The guy's worked in town forever. He worked in Bennington, Vermont. Before that, he worked at a sawmill and a grocery store. As details his background emerged at the commission hearing where he sought to clarify the remarks he made, it didn't go well, according to a transcript. He said, he understood several times that he also understood that all people were innocent until proved guilty. But he also made comments that indicated an imperfect grasp of the concept and reiterated the belief that had gotten him into trouble in the first place. And listen to this. I know they're guilty because they did something wrong. That's how they got a ticket. Let that sink in, chat. Let that sink in. The referee leading the hearing also asked if he understood what a grand jury did. He's like, no, I don't really know. He said he never presided over a trial, but he had taken part in the training as required and passed every test. He says, in my court, I treat everybody the same, fair, equal, and honest. I try to work with people to help them out. I take pride in my job. I don't really know if that really was the case. He acknowledged the primary reason he didn't want to take part in the 6-week grand jury term. And that was for the grand jury, chat. It's because it would have interfered with his taking care of his grandson and the chores, like getting his daughter's dog out. He then said a deputy sheriff with whom he went bowling had told him a person in his role would never be picked. Well, there's ways you could try to do that. So now the city is saying, would they then go and ask their candidates for replacing him? Would they be impartial? And he said he hadn't considered it forward, but it's probably a reasonable question. Holy shit. We're going to try to get a hold of this transcript, by the way, chat. I didn't have a chance to find it today, but we are going to get a hold of this transcript because it sounds fucking hilarious. It sounds fucking hilarious. Matthew Felty says family commitments are often excused. Yes, but he could have brought him up like that, or the fact he's a judge. But not just going, oh, I think all these cocksuckers are guilty. It's like, buddy. So yeah, just saying. Will this trigger a judicial review of all cases he has adjudicated? I don't think so. I wouldn't count on it. I would not count on it. Ultimately, so. Kathy, your realtor in Jersey, is saying, let's do a live reading. Well, yes, I think that would be fun. I'm going to try to figure out how to get a hold of it because it looks good. It looks good. Could Dolly read it for us? Well, I'm going to decide if we can find other people. We're probably going to need a couple of people involved in this, so it'll be interesting. It will be interesting. Harbor War will say, is there a video of these lake courts? I've been in one or two of them before. We do have some mayor's courts here in Ohio. You are a judicial official, like, you are kind of like presiding over shit, and you have to give the guy deference, but he's not like a judge. So, Bella, you're right. He was basically a town elder thought to be wise, but not that smart. So, yeah. Definitely can't be there. Clyde will use me as a human shield. Yeah. All right, chat. So yeah, that was the first thing. And it's just like, you're like, what the hell was this guy thinking? And sadly, it is what it is, chat. It is what it is. And if you are curious, you guys can go to the New York State Judicial Commission on Judicial Conduct. And they are available here. You can look it up online. You can see how they do everything here. It's interesting how they do it, because in Ohio, this is all part of the Supreme Court here. It's not its own separate thing. But you can look for this, and they talk about, they break down on the village and town justices, in the past from 1978 to present. They removed a total of 137 judges, and for a total of 185 judges from office. So it's an interesting thing there. It's an interesting thing. So that is what they do there and how they work out those things, if you're curious. If you are curious. Then which is... All right. Now, moving on from there, we're moving on to another thing where a judge is causing some issues for a guy. And this one is interesting for this guy because he's been in jail for 10 years. Now, what did he do? He was held in contempt for 10 years. Held in contempt for 10 years. Held in contempt for 10 years. You're thinking, wait, how does that happen? It can happen. It can happen. And it did happen. Did happen. It's an interesting case. This is just shows you the inherent power of a federal court, because they got the power. They got the power. Oh, real quick, over on Rumble, Larry Legend 420 says, fuck the Onion and their faggot anti-American co-conspirators. Yes, fuck them all. Fuck them all. So this guy, an ex-treasure hunter, he's been in jail for 10 years, but he just scored a legal win, but he's still going to be stuck in jail. So a guy named Tommy Thompson has spent 10 years in jail. And he's obviously hunting for gold pieces. And this is out of Columbus. And it says, former deep sea treasure hunter has served nearly a decade in jail for refusing to disclose the whereabouts of missing gold coins, had his term ended by an Ohio judge, but he will remain behind bars. And they say and the judge says The civil contempt is no longer convinced that further incarceration is likely to coerce compliance. However, he has to serve a 2-year sentence he received for a criminal contempt charge. Remember, there's a difference between the two. And that is a term that was delayed when the civil contempt was imposed. So they already had him on criminal contempt, and then they had civil contempt. So they're arguing that put it off, and the judge probably could do that and stack him up that way. He's been held in contempt since December 15, 2015, and has incurred a daily fine of $1,000. In his ruling, Marby assessed the civil contempt fine at $3,335,000. It's like, oh, oof. So what's it about, though? What's it about? What's this thing about? What's this all about? What's this all about? Well, it dates back to a discovery of a ship known as the SS Central America. It was known as the Ship of Gold in 1988. And it sunk off the coast of South Carolina with thousands of pounds of gold aboard, contributing to an economic panic. Tim Beatty saying it's debtor's prison. Well, we'll see why that's not exactly the case. So what happened? Here? So despite an investor lawsuit and a federal court order, he won't cooperate who are looking for the 500 coins minted from some of the gold. And he has previously said that the coins valued at $2.5 million were turned over to someone in Belize. So it's not like he owes people money and he hid it. And the court's like, well, where'd you put it? And he's like, I'm not telling you, it's somewhere in Belize. It's like, well, we're going to put your ass in jail. So he failed to appear for a hearing. The marshals had to track him down to Florida. And he pled guilty to skipping on a hearing and was given a 2-year prison sentence. And federal law typically rejects your time or limits your time for contempt to about 18 months. If you guys remember, these cases of contempt are pretty common where you're dealing with like journalists who are dealing with refusing to disclose sources. So Judith Butler is famous for this. She was involved in some of the Valerie Plame stuff. She went to jail for quite a while. Every day the judge said, will you reveal your source? She said, nope. And he's like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. And at any point, she could have given up the names and she refused to. She took it all the way there. Now, you're normally limited to 18 months, but a federal appeals court rejected his argument, saying his refusal violated conditions of a plea agreement. Now, ultimately, yes, his case is there. And it's so interesting what happened with his case here, because it is just very it's very interesting how this all worked out. It's very interesting how this all worked out. So ultimately, if you guys don't know what happened here, he recovered the gold from the Central America, and he sold it for about $52 million. Ultimately, he had awarded like his investors, because remember, these guys can't do this on their own. They got supplied by investors, and he agreed to turn over a bunch of coins, and he refused to do it. So we don't, it's just, the courts can do this to you. The courts can do this to you now. Courts do have a lot of power to hold someone in contempt. And Rod is saying the courts should not be able to hold anyone in contempt. It's a First and Fifth Amendment violation. It's not a First Amendment violation. It's a time, place, and manner restriction. You have the right to speak freely, just not inside the courtroom. I mean, that's a pretty obvious one. Judge has a right to control his courtroom. It's a Fifth Amendment violation. No, I mean, they have due process, and ultimately they have to have hearings about it. They can't just lock you up permanently. And then, you have the right to appeal. You have the right to do everything. You have the right to basically an immediate appeal. You have the right to an immediate appeal. So you say, so if you found the treasure, the correct answer is, what treasure? Exactly. The problem is he's got a lot of investors and people who are probably keeping his eyes on him. JRX says, why is there a giant flashing square? Where? Where's their giant flashing square? I don't see what the hell you're talking about. I don't see what you're talking about. So Brimstone's saying, what's the process there? The judge ordered contempt? Well, eventually when you're disobeying court orders, yeah, you risk being held in contempt. And then, the court's like, will you comply? And you're like, fuck you. Okay, come back another day. Come back another day. Come back another day. And it looks like he kind of wore him out. He had more push than they had time. But now he's got to serve the 2 extra years. So, and guys, remember the whole issue of indirect and direct contempt was the whole Brian Steele thing as well. Trump says, have courts ruled that journalists do not have to reveal their sources? Sometimes, yes, but there are times where the court tells them they have to and they refuse. The blocked ad is pulsing shades of gray. It is? Oh, yeah, I see it now. Oh, wow. Yeah. Catherine Herridge got contempt. Yes, quite a few people have gotten contempt cases. Neo Dark Matter says, what if the judge died and he was still in prison? That's a pretty interesting case. What happens? Well, you're stuck there forever. No, a new judge would come in and have to review it and figure out if that was warranted anymore. So you'd have to come back out and try it. You have to come back out and try it. We'll see, and you'd see what happens. That's a bit of a risk, though. So this guy, for hiding all the stuff he found, it's not over yet. It's not over yet. So. Yeah, how much is 12 years worth for him and how much will he keep? I don't know. I don't know, chat. I don't know. I don't know, chat. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting. What is this here? Somebody saying you forgot the password. Okay, I must have missed it there. Kia Pat says, hide it in a foreign country 10 years ago. It's either gone or been paved over. Yeah, or somebody's got it. I mean, like, that's not impossible to hide stuff somewhere. Sean Pop says he's still averaging $250K a year at 10 years. Well, yeah, but he's got access to none of it, and I'm sure it's, yeah. So, anyway, we are going to start right now, chat. We've got our, hold on one second. Okay, I thought 2.0 was talking to me, but, that it. Tim Beattie, yes. Judge, I'll go get, I have to be the only one that goes. You send me to Belize, I'll get it, I promise. Oh, no. Now, with that said, chat, we got some things we got to take care of tonight. One of those are our sponsors. We've got a couple different sponsors for the show, chat. Some really good people. Some really good people on both sides. That's how I like to look at them. And one of those sponsors is the dragonstreasure.com, your haven for tea and anime lovers. And also if you love a good soap, you'll love some nice, strong coffee. It's a place to go. Pick it all up. Talk to T-Man if you want to see if you get it shipped other places. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I don't know. But he does it, and he is all about the service. So, guys, you use the promo code CRIMINAL, you'll get 10% off your order. Give him a shot. Buy his tea, buy his coffee, buy his soap. Don't be a dirty animal. Get yourself cleaned up and enjoy a nice hot drink. That's how you can celebrate the winter this year. Oh. Are there side quests in the Dragon's Treasure? I don't think so, but if you want them, he'll set one up for you if you really want one. Is he about the Baldo? No, he is not. He is not about the Baldo. Not at all. So, Not at all. Now, chat, moving on to our next sponsor tonight. It's maf-arms.com. maf-arms.com, chat. You know him, you love him. It's Matt LaRosiere over at Fudbusters, and you know him through his wind chime sales, being the premier wind chime dealer in all of South Central Florida. They are done with the Yuletide yard sale, chat. But if you go and use a promo code POTCRIM, you get 10% off your wind chimes and your wind chiming accessories. It's not a bad deal. It's not a bad deal what they do. And then from there, chat, last but not least, chat, tonight we have Stoney's Bar and Grill. That's right, chat. Stoney's Bar and Grill at 158 East Broadway Street in Rockville, Minnesota, chat. That's right, chat. Rockville. You know how hard that town is? They got rock in their name. You know, other towns in Minnesota have names like Fergus Falls or Ottertail or Wilmar or Spicer. Our town, other towns have the name like Rock. That's how you know they go hard. They have rock in their name. So they are there, guys. And Stoney's, remember, chat, they are operating on their winter hours right now. Something's going on, but they opened it at 1 o'clock today. Happy hours from 4 to 7. It's Thursday, chat. $2.50 cans. Remember, thank you, Biden inflation. But you know what? Eventually it'll go back down. Trump will lower the price of eggs and the price of road pops at Stoney's. Get yourself 5 for a tenner eventually. But right now, you're going to have to settle for 4. Anyways, that is going on tonight, chat. It is Thursday. Tomorrow night, Friday, they have the Mystery Machine coming into play. And then Saturday is Pandemic. And Sunday is the Super Bowl party. Emphasis on the soup, chat. Emphasis on the soup. They're having a soup competition in honor of the big game. And I'm sure there's all kinds of chowders going to be served up, and Aaron and Nick will be there cooking, and they'll have their own kind of chowder. I can't do it. I can't do it. Can't do it. I can't do it. You know where I'm going with this. Oh, chat. There'll be all kinds of chowder to eat. Those two show up. But chat, that is what you can find at Stoney's. Celebrating 30 years. 30 years, chat. 30 years down, 970 more to go. This will be a 1,000-year reign for Stoney's as Minnesota's premier biker bar. It's getting warm again, chat. You know what that means? It's patio time. Yeah. Yeah, that patio's been broken in thoroughly over the past year. It's like, it's ready to rock. It's ready to rock, chat. So get ready. Spring is coming. Oh gosh, I crack myself up sometimes. Moving on to our cases, talking about other judges there. This is an interesting one. If you guys remember the Ahmad Arbery case, and we cover that where the former head investigator for the prosecutor's office down in Georgia in a southern county, and his son found Ahmad Arbery, and he was out jogging because people always go for a jog in, cargo shorts and and remember he was peeking around into the unbuilt houses, and according to his family friends, he was just admiring the architecture. Yes, of American stick-built homes, which is so not impressive. I mean, it wasn't like he was looking at any Usonian designs or anything Frank Lloyd Wright was churning out. He was churning out some slop house built in a Georgia development. Well, anyways, they chased him down as he tried to run past them. He was shot. So not only did the father and son get convicted in the case, But the McMichaels both got life. Another man, William Bryan, got involved in that. And yes, they all went away for a long time. They all went away for a long time. Well, in response to the whole case, the prosecutor for that county had kind of declined to prosecute anybody. Declined to prosecute anybody. So what did that mean for everyone? Well, there was an investigation to determine whether or not she had breached her duties as a prosecutor. And that has caused an issue. So, so she ended up getting indicted herself, and she was standing trial, and her case is still kind of dragging along. But one of her two counts, she was acquitted by the judge. It got a directed verdict. And this is the judge. He looks so thrilled in the case there. If you guys don't know who they were talking about here, but this is Jackie Johnson, the former person here, as court opens. She was charged with violating her oath of office and obstruction of justice. So the case is still continuing, but the misdemeanor charge of obstructing justice got tossed. That said, he said there was not one scintilla of evidence that I've heard that would authorize a verdict on that count. That said, though, she is still facing charges. The issue was that people are claiming no one was arrested for 2 months until the cell phone video leaked. And free press equals strong democracy. Okay. Since her trial opened a week ago, prosecutors have tried to build a case that she worked behind the scenes to protect Travis McMichael and his father, who worked in her office, even after she had already recused herself from the case. So, and there were some issues, though, and this is interesting, that one of the police chiefs said she never spoke about the case. You know, the former prosecutor never spoke to me about the case. Well, that's kind of hard to show obstructing justice. So that said, she is still facing violations of her oath of office, which is a felony punishable by a couple years in prison. It will be interesting that Fannie Willis has to suffer and take out that problem. But for sure, she yeah, it's going to be interesting how that works there. Roachbait says oath of office can't be squirmed out of. I think it can be still, though. So, yeah. Roachbait saying obstruction is a felony. Depending on what you're doing, maybe not. Obstruction can be a misdemeanor. In Ohio, obstructing official business. You're obstructing the police. That's a misdemeanor. There's obstructing justice. That's a felony. But the idea that it's automatically going to be a felony, every state's different. So they're doing it their own way. So. Oh, hold on here. What is this? What is this here? Yes, they indicted her on violating an oath of office that expired in 2012. So it's a bit of an issue there. It's a bit of an issue, but we'll see what happens. But he's still looking at tossing it all out. Which I kind of think it has to happen. I think it kind of has to happen here. Kia Pat saying, how can you not be guilty of obstruction but somehow violate your oath? I agree. And Roachbait says, I got arrested for obstruction. They told me it was a felony. Sometimes it can be a felony. And yes, it was tossed 2 days ago. It got tossed. Oh, okay, shit. I thought it was still going. All right, well, that was tossed. My bad. Fuck. All right, chat. Well, she's free. Good for her. She wins. Oh. Brimstone saying, how is Tiffany Henry not in prison yet? Speaking of people. The wheels of justice grind slowly, chat. The wheels of justice grind slowly. So. So there you go. That's what happens there. I guess move on. Move on. Great. See, you can skip that story and keep moving. Can skip that story and keep moving. So, but yes, ultimately the judge tossed everything out. Yeah, so okay, it's from yesterday. So that's good for her. Good for her. I don't think that was fair what happened to her. She has discretion. She doesn't have to prosecute a fucking murder. That's the neat thing. They killed him. They don't have to be prosecuted. There's literally no law that says that has to happen. It's prosecutorial discretion at the end of the day. Prosecutorial discretion at the end of the day. So that's what I would argue there. That's what I would argue there. Let's see here, chat. What do we got? All right, we need to get a move on and a groove on here. Say, are we celebrating the toss? Yes. Thug's lawyer representative, Max Shart. Oh, Jill, thank you for bringing that up. That's some awesome shit there. Remember, that's not Thug's lawyer, but one of the lawyers in the Young Thug trial. You know, that's Shannon Stillwell's attorney. Oh, you're saying Brian Steele represented her. Oh, good for him. Good for him. Okay. Oh, it wasn't Shard, it was Brian Steele. Okay, well, there you go. Good job, Brian. Brian Steele getting the wins. Brian, all about the shade, say Brian Steele. Yes, thank you. I love that. America's Most Petty. So moving on, chat. We got some other things to address here. We've got America's sweetheart, chat. America's sweetheart, Sarah Boone. Sweet, sweet Sarah. She hasn't gone away. She hasn't gone away, chat. She's like that turd you flush down the toilet, and it just keeps kind of like slopping around the sides of the, the bottom of the bowl, and it's kind of like thunk, 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 and it's like, no, I will not go quietly. And Sarah Boone's still there. And she hasn't stopped. She has not stopped. We now have a notice of inquiry from Sarah Boone, which this is very funny. This sounds very regal and prestigious. It's like it's something you do in Parliament, a parliamentary procedure. Yes, sir, I have a notice of inquiry. May the chair notice my inquiry, sir. To be fair, there is a point of inquiry and all of that you can do in parliamentary procedure, and those are, God, I feel like a dork for knowing this and talking about it. But there's all kinds of things you can do in parliamentary procedure that don't require any action that the chair has to recognize they have to address. One of them is a point of inquiry, I'm pretty sure still. It's been a while since I've had to do it. But this is in the circuit court of the ninth, I think the ninth there, judicial circuit, in and for Orange County, Florida. And this was provided to Lowell Reception Center, correctional institution. So we know where Sarah Boone's at. And it's her notice of inquiry. Her notice of inquiry. It says, now comes Sarah Boone pro se and files this notice of inquiry with the clerk of the circuit court. And she says, in the above referenced cases, inquiring as to the status of her appointment of appellate counsel. The last entry in the docket in this case shows that Joshua Adams, Esquire, was appointed on December 18th, 2024. However, she has not received any correspondence from him, and her application of indigency to be appointed an appellate attorney was not filed with this court until December 23rd, 2024. Please advise the appellate appointed counsel in this aforementioned case. And it says, dated the 20th day of January, respectfully submitted, Sarah Boone. Here she is. And this is her service on everybody involved. And that she wants this done. And her name is Sarah Boone. Here's her Department of Corrections number, U72509. And let's see if we can find her real quick. I forgot to bring that up. hold on here, chat. The Florida Department of Corrections. Larry Legend says Brian Steele over on Rumble. Rumble saying Brian Steele is the real American ghetto folk hero representing the rich oppressed hate aliens. Oh my gosh, chat. Be nice, you guys. Be nice. Oh, it's not working. Why is this not loading? There we go. Oh, the inmate search is down. Never mind. I guess we can't look it up right now. Oh, well, that's a ridiculous concept. So, all right. I guess it's not there, chat. I wanted to look it up and do it. But anyways, this is her thing. She sent it in. And she's citing this as an exhibit here, but it's not listed as one. But yes, on this 18th day, December 2024, this guy, Alan Holland Esquire, is relieved, and Joshua Adams Esquire is hereby appointed to represent Sarah Boone. And yes, the email is josh@joshadamslaw.com, and they sent it to him and emailed it to him. And once again, her beautiful, beautiful handwriting. It's amazing. She does such a good job. So what did the court do from here, chat? Well, the court went ahead and they actually responded to her. The clerk of courts responded and they said, hey, Sarah, which is a little weird because down around here they wouldn't be doing this. But anyway, she's at the Florida Women's Reception Center. And they say, in response to your correspondence, the following applied. And it says, Joshua Adams has been appointed to represent you. However, at this time, no appeal is on file. Which you're like, uh-oh, that's a bit of a problem. That's a bit of a problem if there's no appeal on file, because you're like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do if my appeal's not on file? That's not how this works. That's not how this works. Now, what happened from here for Sarah? Well, for Sarah, there was a, where is, I thought I had it here somewhere. Oh, hold on, chat. I took it, I got rid of it accidentally. Chat. Hold on here. Sadly, if you guys want to find all this, you can find all this correspondence on her case page still in the Orange County Clerk of Courts website. So if you guys have been on there before looking for stuff, there's stuff still there. There's stuff still there. Now, she did receive something from the 6th District Court of Appeals down in Florida. And with that, she did get this nice little spiffy thing here. And this was filed on February 3rd. This is from the Court of Appeals. And this is an interesting thing they have here. And they said acknowledgement of new case. Acknowledgement of new case. And it says the 6th Circuit Court of Appeals received a case initiation document reflecting a filing date of December 18th, 2024. That's a long time to wait. So yes, the guy did it immediately. The origin of the case is Orange County. The lower tribunal case provided is 2020 CF 2603. The filing fee is waived. Yes, because she's indigent. But yeah, this is interesting. It's been like almost, a month and a half, and they just are now like, oh yeah, this shit got filed. It's like, buddy, that's a little weird. But Sarah Boone's thing is there. And yeah, so her appeal's not over. But when you read that first thing of the clerk be like, we don't have nothing, you're like, oh no, she might be screwed. Kathy is saying, do I think she did it? Yeah, probably. I don't buy her story. So that's Sarah Boone's situation so far, Chad. If you were wondering, she's kind of hanging in there. I'm sure she's the queen of her, little roost in prison, but that's where she is. That's what she's doing. That's how she's handling it. Now, Now, this next one, I think some of you guys are going to get real sad about this, but I know you guys have a warrior spirit. So just keep it in mind. Be strong, be steady. Australia is now putting mandatory jail time on people who throw up a Roman. So I know some of you in chat are probably panicking. This is not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. But just be careful about it. Just be careful. So it is interesting though, because they're going to bring up some of these issues with this case or this law that's being put together. So hate symbols and terror offenses will be punishable with mandatory jail terms ranging from 1 to 6 years in Australia. After Parliament passed a series of amendments to its hate crime laws on Thursday. So, yeah, upside down in the future. The new laws were passed following a wave of high-profile anti-Semitic attacks, which have become a major topic of debate in this country. The amendments have been described by the government as the toughest laws Australia has ever had against hate crimes. You're like, really? Really? Is that what you're going to say here? These are our toughest ones? Like, is that something to be proud of? I don't know. And I don't know if that's really, Hella. I mean, guys, it is a problem. Hella, Hayden, our two favorite Aussies, they're not going to be allowed to go around and do like Elon's show of affection and go. Like, they're going to be, can you do double Romans? Will that help? I don't know. Are you allowed to hail Hydra? But it does show you that this is a betrayal, I think, of some of their initial core values, and people are pointing them out for it. So remember, if you hate somebody enough, you'll sacrifice a lot of things to own them. And apparently, in the Labor Party is caving to opposition demands and going against its own policy of opposing mandatory jail sentences. Yeah. But remember, they're going to say it's okay because they're Nazis, and Nazis deserve to go to prison. That's how they're going to rationalize this. Under the amendments, displaying hate symbols or performing a Nazi salute is now punishable with at least 1 year in prison. I just don't understand why they would do that. I just don't understand why they would do this. It doesn't make any sense to me, chat. I just, you're like, you're thinking about, you're like, you got this thing you're trying to do, and they're just like, fuck it. We're going to do this. Anna Wall says that's insane. Yes. Oh. And they said the other penalties include 3 years for financing terrorism. Okay, well, that's kind of obvious. It's 6 years for committing or planning terrorist acts. I don't think anybody's opposed. I think that probably makes sense to nearly everyone. There have been several attacks on Jewish targets in Australia in recent months. Yes, and I'm sure those weren't by white people. Last week, authorities in Sydney found a caravan being a camper containing explosives and an anti-Semitic note. I mean, like, there's, just to say, come down to the farms. You can find somebody who can look like that, who would fit the description here. Oh, does it count if it's upside down? Yes. In Australia, technically, if they're upside down when they're throwing up a Roman, is that like, how is that going to work? How does that work? The discovery just came a week after a childcare center near a Jewish school and synagogue was set on fire and anti-Semitic graffiti was seen on one of its walls. In December, a synagogue in Melbourne was set alight with worshippers inside. No one was seriously hurt in the incident, which sent shockwaves throughout the country. It's like, it's like, how much of this is faked? Because we see that all the time here. Is it a fake hate crime? I just, that's another issue here. But as the Labor Party members point out, it's a clear breach of their party's platform. But it's okay because it's Nazis they're punishing. They oppose mandatory sentences because they don't reduce crime, correct? They undermine the court's independence, correct? and are often discriminatory in practice. Correct. But opposition parties did not rush to welcome the new amendments either, accusing labor of dragging its feet. And yeah, so it's interesting there. They say performing the Nazi salute and displaying Nazi symbols such as the swastika. Well, I wonder though, if you're in the Ukrainian military, can you wear the Sonarad still? Because I know that's kind of like one of their accoutrements in Ukraine is wearing Sonarads and death heads. Like they do the Totenkopf thing. So the amendments make it the jail term mandatory, but you could have gotten up to 1 year in jail. And the Home Affairs, their Interior Minister says it's not about politics. It's totally about politics. Oh God, it's just so sad. It's ridiculous. He says this is about where the Australian Parliament believes it's acceptable to advocate, threaten, or commit violence against another person because of who they are, who they pray to, or who they love. It's just so. It's so garbage. So garbage. Cuckstralia. Yeah, the Azov Battalion cannot go to Australia, chat. It's like, Australia looks at the Azov Battalion. It's like, you guys can't be here. You can't be here. Go home. Go home. Then just look at the rest of them. All the rest of you Ukrainian Nazis. Go home, chat. Go home. You can't be here. You can't be here. Oh. Timotan saying, said the same people who shot us with rubber bullets over COVID. Yes. Yes, that is very true. That is very true. So, yes. Okay, you're right. First Cuccadia, now Cuckstralia. Yeah, but you know what? These two places have been cucked for a very long time. So, it just happens. So, something to think about there. Apparently they don't allow Houthis either, bigots. Yeah. The Commonwealth is a mess. Yes, the Commonwealth is a disaster, chat, but it's something to keep in mind. Something to keep in mind. Ned Kelly's rolling around in his grave. Well, yeah. Yes, he is. So, and we are going to move on from here, chat. We are moving on to, and why did this? Oh, hold on here. All right. We're kind of getting into the home stretch here, chat. We're going to start plowing through stuff because we got to get rolling here. This law was sponsored by USAID. And Brewberries, yes, our other Roman appreciator out in the Aussie land. Roman Brewberries, and what Brewberries means, it's an old Aboriginal name for Roman respecter. So, that's how they talk about Brewberries. She's just walking around and she's walking down the street, just pow, 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 all the way down the street. It's impressive to watch. It's impressive to watch. They sell Tim Tams at Walmart now. We don't need y'all. Oh, okay. So, all right. So moving on, chat. We're going to talk about the firefighting out in California. And if you guys remember, people were kind of like geeking out over these, but it's something that's been around for a while in the entire situation out there are the super scooper planes. And they are water-based bombers that, they drop. They're the big yellow planes that would come in over the fire, come in and drop their water. Well, they were the ones who they initially needed fresh water to get to. But as things were getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, they would go ahead and start basically landing in the ocean, scooping up the water, flying just far enough to drop it and come back down into the ocean, like basically doing it forever. Seen one, there is one here, and it's actually pretty cool to watch. Pretty cool to watch it. Because this is what they do when they're flying along. This is how they operate. here. So this is kind of what they do. Where is, hold on, here it is.
Where they're at now is perfect for them because we're right next to the ocean. It's a little hard for them to pick up when
We're gonna skip around to where they come in.
and it's
now,
you could probably see him here as he comes down, and he'll just drag.
If you never saw this before, basically it comes in at about 90 miles an hour, sucks up the water, and flies off.
Drag on the ocean.
Yeah,
and
picking up all that water.
I want to say they pick up over 3,000 gallons, I believe.
It's amazing what they're doing and the work that they're doing so quickly to battle this blaze. All right, Tony, thank you so much. Please stand by because right now we are going
let's just watch this for a moment, though, because this is pretty incredible.
And that's what it does. That's how it loads up the water in a hurry. That's how it does it. Those are Canada Air CL-415s. And chat, here's a picture of one of them doing its thing. They're pretty cool looking airplanes. The Canadian government sent a couple down to help us from Quebec. And they were taking part in the LA wildfires, and they still are. And, well, one of them had a big accident. They had a big accident. And it was big for the plane, but at the end of the day, it wasn't the end of the world. That's the thing here, but it did have a problem. So at some point, while in California, putting out the fires, something really bad happened to the plane. And it's not like it was the end of the world, but it got hit by a drone. And actually, you know what, to be fair, it didn't get hit by a drone. It hit a drone. Because that would imply the drone's just cruising along and like smacked into the plane. No. The plane smacked into the drone. And the problem is you can't see those drones when you're flying. They're not there. And it hit the wing. And it hit the wing in such a way that it was severely damaged. If you guys have never seen the picture of it, this is what happened when it landed in California here. This is the hole it made in the wing. Which you might say, oh, that's no big deal. That airplane's flying along, and guess what it's going to do? That wing has got, there could be structural defects in it right now. But also, if the wind starts going into the wing, it's going to peel off the skin right there. And basically kind of deglove the entire wing section, which would be catastrophic for the airplane and make it crash and kill everybody. Well, this issue, they did figure out who owned the drone that hit the plane, because when it hit the plane, they had to ground the planes for 2 days till it could get repaired. But they also grounded all the firefighting aircraft for a couple of hours because there were threats of drones in the area. These helicopters hitting a drone, the smaller planes hitting a drone, that's curtains for them. If some of these military planes hit a drone, that could be it for them too. Easily. So it's a big problem. No, Benjamin Lewis says that it's not working there anymore. Okay. Well, but yeah, it caused a problem. And they did figure out, Kay says it's just the skin, quick patch, and she's back in business. Sure, but you have to patch it. And you got to make sure it's airworthy. So what happened? Well, they figured out who did it. And it's a former video game executive. He pled guilty to crashing the drone into the firefighting plane. And here's a close-up of it. I mean, that's a healthy chunk out of that's a healthy knock into it. And it's a former co-founder of Treyarch Video Game Studios. Most famous for creating the Call of Duty franchise. The franchises, including Black Ops. So Treyarch, one of its co-founders, was involved in this. It's a guy, Pete T. Ackerman. He's got a bit of an issue here. And he was charged in federal court, chat. And some of you might say, whoa. Federal court? Yeah. You're screwing with air traffic. The air traffic is the exclusive domain of the FAA. So you can't just do stuff like this and expect nobody to care or to react or act out. Now, am I going to sit here and say that these weren't a bunch of, lesbians named Karen doing this? No, but this is one of those times where, like, you were interfered with airplanes, you do kind of deserve some punishment. Do I think it should be a federal crime like this? I don't think so, but we'll talk about that more. We'll talk about this more. So it's he was charged with operation of an unmanned aircraft in an unsafe manner. It's a misdemeanor. Remember, chat, not every federal offense is a felony. There are federal misdemeanors. So what did he do? He took his DJI Model Mini 3 Pro and recklessly interfered with a special aircraft jurisdiction of the United States, namely a Canada Air Super Scooper aircraft flying aerial missions to combat the Palisades fire. And that posed an immediate safety hazard to the occupants of the firefighting aircraft. And it's true, it did. Now, notice they didn't go to an indictment. They have an information, meaning he agreed to this. And they worked it out. So he was entering to that information. No pun intended there, chat. But what did this do for him? Well, there was a plea in this case. There was a plea. And this plea is interesting because he's got to pay a lot of money. But for him, that's probably not a big deal. But for a lot of us, this would be backbreaking amounts of what would happen anyway. So this is the case here of what they're looking at. So what happened? Well, ultimately, he got involved on January 9th, hitting the plane. And they say that he gives up, and here's what he's agreeing to give up. The right to indictment by a grand jury at the earliest opportunity. He's proceeding to plead guilty to the one-count information to do that. And he has to do some things here. He has to not contest the facts agreed to in this agreement. So whatever they say at the hearing, his sentencing hearing, he's got to shut up and accept it. Abide by all agreements regarding the sentencing contained in this agreement. Yeah. Approval for all court appearances. Surrender is ordered for service of sentence. Obey all conditions of any bond and obey other conduct going on in this matter. And he says not to commit a crime. And it says, however, offenses that would be excluded for sentencing purposes under the sentencing guidelines, which this is an actual book. It's very interesting. There. Are they going to drop the charges against Caleb? Guys, we're not talking about that right now. So, but yes, the sentencing guidelines are some good stuff here. But they talk about some things that are excluded under the sentencing guidelines. And this is an entire book. The sentencing guidelines are an entire thing that you use for the federal thing. And you guys, kind of like how Nick has that thing for Minnesota, the federal one is just, it's multi-hundred pages of how you plead people out and how they assess sentencings. This is actually a good question here. This is a very good question here. This is, we're going to get to this stuff here. Can he be sued by the property owners for loss of service by the plane, John? No, I don't see that happening, but it's a very good question. Could he? I mean, you might say, but in reality, that fire by the time like January 9th, that fire was not contained at all. And them doing that, it probably wasn't going to matter at that point. So no, I wouldn't say that's going to be the issue there, but it's a very good question. It's a very good question. How would that work? It's a very good question. How would that work? I just don't see the connection there. So I don't see the action. I don't see the connection there. So now what else happens for this guy? Oh, and Nate Matthews is right. He got the kill streak, chat. And Fernando says, why claim the drone? Well, we're going to get to that. Why is that an issue? So what does he have to do here? Okay, so he has to be truthful at all times, with the probation and pretrial services of the court, pay the applicable special assessments at or before the time of sentencing. And he agrees not to impose the imposition of the following conditions of probation or supervised release. That he has to complete 150 hours of community service in support of the wildlife efforts. The community service comprising the 150 hours shall be approved by the probation and pretrial services office because they're the ones who supervise it. He agrees that any and all criminal debt will be due in full and immediately. Remember, this guy worked for Treyarch, so he's got money. The government is not precluded from pursuing in excess of any payment schedule set by this court, and ain't all available remedies by which to satisfy the payment of the full financial obligation. And this also includes referral to the Treasury offset program where they can kind of take out your taxes. He has to complete a financial disclosure statement. He's going to have to do the entry of the guilty plea and send that in. They want to deal with his ability. They agree that his ability to pay the debt shall be assessed based on the completed financial statements. Yeah. The U.S. Attorney's Office wants to obtain a credit report on returning a signed copy of the plea agreement. They want to consent to the U.S. Attorney to inspecting and copying all of his financial documents and financial information held by the United States Probation Department. So anything they already have, he's going to get the right to get into. And it says regarding the abandonment of property. So this guy's here, and this is a question somebody was bringing up. Why does he have to abandon that stuff? Well, here's the thing. It's contraband now. Because otherwise, he could come back to court and say, I want my shit back, give me my crashed drone. Or more importantly, this is a common thing even when you're dealing with like drug cases and gun cases, where like the drugs, it's a pile of cocaine. As part of a plea, the judge will ask, are you forfeiting all right, title, and interest to this pile of cocaine or that gun? Yes. Now, here's the point, you could say is, well, what if you don't own it? It's like, well, you're just admitting if I don't own this, this glasses wipe here. If I don't own it, I could surrender all my right, title, and interest to it because I don't own it. So if I'm giving up the title of something I don't own, I'm not giving anything up really. But you do that just so they're like, oh, okay, and they don't really think about it. But yes, you can give up right, title, and interest to the components of the drone that got smashed when the plane landed. He agrees he's a sole owner of the seized property and no other person has an interest in the property. And this is just so nobody else can come forward later and say, well, it's mine too. That's the purpose behind this. He has to complete any other legal documents and transfer the title to seized property to the United States. So the U.S. Attorney's obligations, they agree not to contest the facts. They agree by all agreements. And they say in the nature of the offense, and they understand that he's going to be guilty for the crime charge in count 1. That's unsafe operation of an unmanned aircraft. And they're going to say that, yes, he operated a drone. He was recklessly interfering with or disrupted the operation of a manned aircraft carrying one or more members. And they were operating in the special aircraft jurisdiction of the United States. And his interference was in a manner that posed an imminent safety hazard to occupants of the manned aircraft. Now, you might say, well, that's a problem, but yeah, let's say it hit the engine. Or, God forbid it was the DC-10 that they used for the aero tanker. Yeah, you'd like to think you could suck all that in and just shit out the parts. The way a part might get in there in the right way, it might lodge in and you have a complete failure and you have FOD damage. But he has penalties and, restitution moving on. The court can impose the statutory maximum sentence. He understands that. And they say the statutory maximum sentence they can impose, is 1 year imprisonment, a 1 year supervised release, a fine of $100,000, or twice that gain, or a gross loss resulting from the offense, whichever is greatest, and a mandatory special assessment of $25. Like, yeah, they're going to break his back with that. Now, he does have to provide restitution to his victims, and it's interesting that they do this. because they talk about all the things he has to do here. He understands that he's a U.S. citizen. He could get deported. Those are all things he has to worry about. He does admit that he's guilty. He's in fact guilty of the offense to which he's agreeing to. You know, guys, it's interesting. It's like we've seen all this stuff before. Yeah, it is. These are very common terms. So, and once again, they're talking about how he flew the Mini into the unmanned aircraft. And they say that they were doing this, and it was the problem is at the time of this, the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, had imposed a temporary flight restriction, also known as a TFR. So, for example, chat, when Trump as the president now comes places, there's going to be a temporary flight restriction around the area is at. And that is Air Force One is transiting airspace. It has a roving and moving temporary flight restriction all around it. And this restriction prohibited drone operations near the fires. He was at least 2,500 meters away from the launch point and lost visual sight of the drone while flying it. He admits his drone use and control recklessly interfered with and disrupted the operation of the aircraft. Upon landing, this was found. The left wing had a hole in it, and it was damaged till the aircraft was taken out of service for a period of time. So what happened here? Well, as a result of the collision, the government of Quebec and the aircraft repair company incurred costs of $65,169.55. Just like that deer guys last week, this shit adds up quick. So he's got the restitution. He has to pay to the government of Quebec. You know, ho, 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 ho. So just makes you think, chat, doesn't it? It makes you think. $65,169. Imagine you owing that much. You're just like, because let's face it, you're probably not going to get much more out of things there. So, So, if this dude made Call of Duty, he should have a lot of money. Yeah, he probably does. Benjamin Lewis is saying, do drone operators have alcohol, sleep, and work regulations like the airline pilots? I don't believe so. Don't believe so. There's any of that out there. But he owes $65,000 fucking dollars, chat. Oof. Woof, woof, woof. Worked. Like, that's no good, man. That's no good. Oh, God, it's scary thinking about what would happen with that. You know, you wonder what's going to happen to you. Like, it's just worry how these things are going to get done. It's just, yeah, it's something there. That's a lot of loonies and toonies. Yes, it is. It is a lot of loonies and toonies. All right, chat. So we can catch up on some super chats real quick. Letty's saying, what happened with Core TV? Do you have timestamps and stream references? I want to watch it live. What happened, Sean? Tell me, Sean. Core TV showed up in the stream on the last 45 minutes, I would say. Roughly. You'll see them there. Pretty cool. Jefferson Post says, all these commies and bad actors got too confident and kept whipping it out on the table. Glad to see the hammer coming down on it these days. Yes. And Jefferson Post says, for 5 months, sorry, New England is such a spaz, by the way. Well, it's all right. We all can't be perfect. Jefferson Post says, juries hold the state accountable. Serve to defend. Yes. It's one of the 4 boxes, chat. The 4 boxes of liberty. The soap box, the ballot box, the jury box, and the cartridge box. It's one of the last 2 important ones. Jefferson Post says in Massachusetts, judges get jury duty. Jury pool is everyone. Now, I don't disagree with the idea your judge could show up as a judge and you're like, you're summoned for jury duty, but immediately they should be like, okay, get the fuck out of here. It's a waste of time. I would not want to judge on my jury. I mean, there might be a situation where I would, but I would worry like that would never happen. So that would never happen. I don't think it would. So, Summonable Trap is bringing up a good point here. If you're a FAA Part 107 commercial licensed drone operator, yes, but I don't think this guy's a licensed commercial operator. He's just a private operator. But yes, you're prohibited from operating your drone while under the influence of drugs. If you're a hobbyist, you're not. Yeah, I don't think he was doing it for commercial work. He was just fucking around on it. So, if I had to guess, that's what's going on there. But yes, so the judges get jury duty. Jury pools everyone. Yeah, but there are some states, I think in Florida, like you're prohibited from serving on a jury or being summoned for jury duty as an attorney, which is interesting. Like I said, everybody's different. Everyone's different. Kathy, your realtor in Joyce, he says, can you revisit the Alex Jones case and the trial failures on a stream someday? Yeah, we can try that. We could try that. Jesus Loves You says, if chat starts her own fight club, will you be our own Robert Paulson? Will you embrace us in your bosom? John Coleman says, have you ever looked up Sugars in San Antonio? $2 steak and fries and live entertainment. The pasties have to stay on because San Antonio sucks, but it ain't bad. No, I've never heard of that place. That sounds interesting, though. Roachbait says, Sarah Boone is changing lawyers like underwear. Yes. And Menace to Sobriety says, I low-key want to write her so I can get a handwritten letter from Sarah. Well, I wouldn't encourage you to tip the cow, but you can go out there and touch the cow if you want. So, Katie's saying, are we body camming tonight? I have a few on deck. Yeah, we probably will. We will be over there for a bit over there in locals. It'll be fun tonight. D says, never forget the Aussies did have coof camps. Yes. And Jefferson Post says, left logic, Roman salutes equals jail, but Hamas banners, brave. Yes, very brave to be Hamas. Mofolk saying, I mean, Biden's TFR has delayed firefighting efforts. Yeah. Yes. And then Jose Rodriguez says, I wish I could send super chats on the currency of the country I'm in right now. I bet you'd enjoy 100 mad right now. I don't know. Would I enjoy mads? I don't know what I'd if I'd want 100 Moroccan dirhams, but I might. Hope you're doing well over there, man. Be careful out there. John Coleman says he's gonna come out here and he's gonna pick 5 grays and he's just gonna be like, hunting you down, grays. He's got his own personal vendetta ride right now. Going after the grays, chat. Look at my hair. The grays, you're getting clipped. You're getting clipped, grays. For 5 subs. And that's right, chat. Let's get some subs going in here. John, thank you for support your generosity. Edward Scott says it flew back. Quit with the hyperbole. Well, it can easily cause a fucking crash. I mean, planes are fragile, man. Like, sometimes it goes down easy. You gotta be careful as shit what you do to them. There. Let's see here. All right. Oh, Parallax, how you doing, man? I got a question. He says, with Music Biz Marty dead, will I be Cyrax's new Wrangler? No, I don't really want to be. You are the clear choice. I'll pass. I don't want that. I don't want that life. I don't want that life for anybody. I don't want that life. That's just not good. All right. So we've got that. Just don't fucking crash your airplanes into shit, guys. Don't crash your planes into shit. It's a pretty easy plan. From there, though, we have this is in the aftermath of the plane crash out in D.C., where the Army helicopter hit a civilian airliner. And as I stated at the time, chat, remember how I said these are always pilot error, and there's always an easy answer. And probably the helicopter was not where it was supposed to be. And it looks like we were pretty much correct in that assessment that the helicopter was 100 feet higher than where it should have been. And it flew right into the landing path. And it wasn't an issue of DEI, and it wasn't an issue of people being cut from the control towers. Nope, it was just people fucked up, man. People fuck up. So let's see here. What is lobbyist Sean? No, God, I'll kill myself. Just like don't give me that names. Don't give me those names. So I hear a lady was driving. Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything necessarily. So don't let women fight Blackhawks. Is that a Tammy Duckworth joke? Oof. So what happened to these guys? Well, as a result of everything that gone on, 2 workers at the airport were arrested for leaking the plane crash video to CNN. Now, was it because they actually sent the videos? No, it's because how they accessed them. They are accused of making unauthorized copies of records and charges of computer trespass. It's like Nick's favorite pastime. So what did they give to CNN? Well, they did give CNN the video of the crash. If you guys have not seen it,
these videos obtained exclusively by CNN
these are interesting. You will see the plane crash in these.
and show previously
And you're wondering why the camera's moving around? It's because it's all done on a cell phone.
the unseen angles of the collision between an American Airlines flight and a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter.
And if we back up a little bit here, chat. Let me. Right here, chat, is the helicopter. Helicopter, helicopter. And then obviously the plane is the plane.
Black Hawk helicopter. In the first video, the Black Hawk can be seen flying at speed over the Potomac from the left side of the screen. The American Airlines plane can be seen flying towards the airport before the two collide, causing a mid-air explosion and fall into the river. In the second video, you can see
this is an even better view.
The Army helicopter and American Airlines plane travel toward each other. After the collision and subsequent explosion, the airliner can be seen spinning into the water, and
So there you go. That's what happened, chat. Yes, was it really a former Biden staffer? Yes. What would happen there? Well, apparently she was working in the White House and then she wanted to get back her flight status. So that's not impossible. You're allowed to do that. You could rotate between jobs in the military. So what did they get charged with, though? They got charged with accessing the computer systems. Not just, that's the biggest thing here for them. So they talk about the 2 people who got charged. Mohammed Migbinu, whatever, from Nigeria. He was arrested for releasing footage, according to officials. So they are facing charges, and it's the Metropolitan Airport Authority that they have there. So the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority. Remember, that's kind of like the political subdivision that's in charge of the airports. So you might have a port authority where you live, things like that. But the Airports Authority have its own police force, its own abilities, and they're holding these guys in their custody. You guys are something else here. So these guys were booked into the Adult Detention Center in Arlington, Virginia, and they've been released. And here is part of the Black Hawk sitting in the river. And then you have them fishing parts of the plane out of the river. And I know you guys at the beginning, people are like, oh, people survived. It's like, nobody survived in that. Those people got all incinerated. And like, maybe some people hit the water, but they got burned up really bad. They got burned up. Probably wasn't good. Now, they talk about these things getting leaked here, and then there was a CNN offered a closer look at this, and then yeah, here they're hauling out things like the engines. Yeah. So, questions remain. However, this could have happened with a federal investigation ongoing. Like we said, chat, it's probably somebody was where they weren't supposed to be. These are almost always pilot error. That's just how this goes. It's pilot error. It's pilot error. So, sadly, it wasn't a dance team. Oh. Tim Beattie saying they learned to code. Well, yeah, that's not true. So that's not true. That's not true. But it does show what happens with people as far as things are concerned there. People are getting charged, and it's not for, it's for leaking information, and it's probably going to be the only people who end up getting charged in this. And Jefferson Post says that, people were incinerated, but were any steel beams melted? I don't know. That would be funny if there were steel beams melting under the river, but I don't think there are any there. So, let me see here. What are you guys saying? Can a lawsuit be filed against Sub-Saharan Genetics? No, you cannot do that. Steel beams got softened. Kay says it's supposed to recover everyone. Yeah, it does sound like they did everybody. So, did seat 7 collapse itself? Oh no, chat. Oh no. We're not that is not appropriate. That's not appropriate. But it does show you though, these people, you're wanting, like, I'm sure they got paid handsomely for that video. It's like, was it worth it? Was it worth it? Then moving on from here, chat, where is this guy? Here you go, chat. This is one where don't feel bad for him. We're just going to go through this real quick, but somebody who, should be on the go fuck yourself train. Hopefully he is, and he understands that. Man's been sentenced, Georgia, 400 years for dogfighting. Yes. So, Vincent Burrell was sentenced to 475 years of prison after he was found guilty of 93 counts of dogfighting and 10 counts of animal cruelty in Paulding County in the metro Hotlanta area. I bet this is J-Rock's neighbor. The state animal crimes resource prosecutor, and this is typical when you have these things, create cases involving animals, the humane societies and the, animal crimes may have their own prosecutors set up for that. That's a very common thing. They have an attorney who does it super cheap, or they have some sort of pro bono agreement. Like, this is not a normal thing here. Although she's clearly paid. She said via email, it's the longest sentence involving dogfighting a person has received anywhere. Well, 475 years, yeah. But it all started because an Amazon driver was concerned about the welfare of the doggos. He said he saw numerous dogs tied at the fence posts on heavy chains. And the dogs were chained close to each other, but just out of reach. A tactic that reportedly serves to build dog aggression. Yes. Gets them all fired up. And then they have some shit like this, which is just awful to fucking see, chat. It's awful to see this. Awful to see just why is this protest thing going on here? No one cares. Those poor dogs, just awful. They found other things there. A treadmill for dogs, the chicken used to entice them. They had brake sticks and a crash kit. Those are all things they had there. That said, though, there was some good news, and it said a veterinarian said the dogs were found, and they were all, it sounds like, Almost all of them were where they had to go and were with fosters very quickly. I don't think there's anything about them having to put any of the dogs down, which is, thank God, a beautiful thing. A beautiful thing. But yes, here's one of the dogs, and this dog is like, feed me a baby. I must find a baby and eat its face. But yes, all the dogs were placed in different rescues, according to the police. Yeah, that it's just yeah. But anyways, they worked day and night removing 100 dogs and holding them so they could be photographed and examined by veterinarians. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do when you take in a bunch of dogs like that at the end of the day. So that is that one's kind of a good story. Like, some guy got fucking what he deserved. Don't feel bad for him. I don't feel bad for him. Jill Dip says, you do not want that rehome dog. Oh, yeah, no. That's like buying a fucking IED that barks and craps. You would not want that thing. Like, it's just going to be like, right in your face. It's going to be a time bomb. It's a ticking time bomb. Jesus love you. The Black Hawk identified as a few hundred feet lower in altitude. I'm sure that you're a funny guy, Slowly. You are a funny guy. You're a funny guy. You are a funny guy. That's why I'm going to kill you last. This is just...
You're a funny guy, Sully. I like you. That's why I'm going to kill you last.
Yes. Sellers is saying my city sends people if I have more than 3 dogs on an acre. Oh, yeah. Your animal control people. Yeah, they're retarded like that. Jefferson Post says incinerated, but were any steel beams melted? Nope. They're all there, including a brand new shiny. Yeah. Jesus Loves You says TND, Sean. TND, yes. And EDW Raptor says a dog named Baby Shark. Lol, what? Mm-hmm. And before we get too far, chat. Oh, I gotta grab something. We have packages I need to get through. Somebody sent some stuff in. We need to go through it, and we need to. What better time to open it than right now when we got, 600 and some odd people watching here on YouTube. So let me go grab them. They're right next to the door. All right, chat. So here we go. We got 2 things. One of these is through Amazon. Well, they're both Amazon. See, they got the Amazon smile. So let's open this one first. It's the big one. Ooh. What do we have here? Well, and this is something somebody had actually told me was coming, and this is pretty fucking cool, chat. This is an Academy UH-60L direct action penetrator, which means it's a helicopter that's meant to assist in special operations things because it's got like rockets and other things it can support with. So this is fucking huge, though. 1/35th scale. This is massive. This is like, oh my God. It's so big. It's so big. And this is from Raubelt. He had messaged me and said this was coming. This looks like a lot of fun. This is going to have to go in the pile of shame as we start working through stuff. Because if you guys are not aware, we had actually got the tank going pretty far. I kind of did the paint job on this. Probably not the best. but I enjoyed it. I got to add some black to this still, but you know, I kind of did it, and I don't know. I enjoyed it doing this like 1970s obscure paint pattern on it, but I thought it was a lot of fun, and we need to get this put together, and maybe I'll see if I can sell this to Overton Windex because he seemed interested in buying this. He's like, "Who do you sell these?" And I'm like, "I'm just a retard," but that was a lot of fun last week running into somebody who's running into big people on YouTube. So we might be getting rid of this here at some point. And then real quick, we're going to take care of this one. The rust area color, the color areas came out good. Yeah, they did. We got to work on it. They need some black in there too. All right, chat. We're going to do this last thing real quick, and then we're going to get into the, we got some Second Amendment stuff to get to. So, all right. What is this thing here? All right, leave. Okay. And we're going to end on, actually, we're going to end on the gun stuff, chat. That's what's going to happen here. We're going to end on the gun stuff. Let's see what we got here. All right. So let's see what this is, chat. I don't know what this one is. It's not shaking, and it came in yesterday. Hi, Clyde. Check out this shit, buddy. Check this out, Butterbear. Is it a loaded 320? No. Clyde's just standing at the door like, what are you doing, fat man? It's not a surprise Claymore. I wish it was a Claymore at this point. There's no note with this one. So whoever sent this, I don't know who sent it. So sorry, chat. You didn't have a note. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll use it as an aroma. We'll do the aroma dispensing with it. Don't worry. I will do that. I'll show you it working at some point too. Just for the record, I am not a foamer, chat. I am not a foamer. Oh, I am not a foamer. We're tickling all the tisms tonight. Yeah. So, all right. All right, chat. With that said, I know some of you guys tuned out there. So let's get to the gun stuff. Second Amendment news. Yeah. Well, there's some good news, and then there's some like okay news. There's like some okay news. It's like I said, it's okay. There's some interesting stuff that's come out here, and one of them is through Senator Mike Lee of Utah. It's called the SHUSH Act. Now, it's not saying, you might say, well, like, this sounds base. Does this mean we get to tell, like, women to shush? It's silence women when they get lippy? No. The SHUSH Act simplifies the purchase of suppressors. So Mike Lee, along with Congressman Michael Cloud, have introduced the Silencers Helping Us Save hearing. This is basically the Hearing Protection Act. And basically what this is to do is to simplify the process for silencers and suppressors. And it kind of basically delists them off the NFA. It's something that I think of all the things that are out there is probably get the best chance of passing. But even then, it's still going to be a very large uphill battle. So what happens here? So what does it do? Well, currently you got to send in, you got to do your Form 4. You got to show your certificate of compliance. You have to submit photos and your fingerprints. And it could take 9 to 12 months depending on the situation. So what is it going to do? Well, they want to remove suppressors off the NFA and from the Gun Control Act, remove the existing taxes, fees, and registration requirements, allow current or retired law enforcement officers to carry concealed firearms with suppressors, which, why are we fucking doing shit for cops? We all should have that right or not. Preempt state law regulations on the manufacture, transport, or possession of suppressors, which would be very good because in a lot of states, chat, just because your state will ban, some states ban NFA items. Like California, they're all banned. And then other states, certain things are banned, certain things are not. And yes, that should be done there. They will strike provisions requiring mandatory minimum sentences for suppressor possessions in certain cases. Exempt suppressors from regulation by the Consumer Product Safety Commission. Because even if you delisted them, if you're going to make the argument that suppressors are hearing protection, well, now it's safety equipment. So now that means they get regulated by entirely other categories, which is something you have to think about when you start doing this. Because remember, the government is all about regulating the shit out of everything. And they will come up with something for that. And then they also want to provide a provision for a refund of the $200 stamp for anybody who's purchased a suppressor within 2 years of the enactment of the bill. And if passed, it would work alongside the Hearing Protection Act to further deregulate suppressors and remove them from the Gun Control Act of 1968. So, yeah, it'd be nice if that works, but I just, we'll see what happens. I'm just not holding out hope. I just don't see it working. But you know what? It'd be based if it did. It would be based if it did. It would be very based. I mean, ultimately, you do have to say that.
Was this story based? Yes.
Very based. Very based. So that's the good Second Amendment news. That's like the best Second Amendment news here. There was some other Second Amendment news. And this was a case out of the Northern District of Mississippi. You guys, I don't know if you've ever heard the joke before, but how do you know when you're in a Mississippi hotel? As the joke goes, how do you know you're in a Mississippi hotel? When you call the front desk and say, I got a leak in my sink, and their response is, oh, don't worry, everybody does that all the time. Fedorevsky says, I did special forces training, which helped me in owning my shotguns. Yes. Well, I was going to say, yes, I know you are a European, you are one of our European viewers, but yes, it sucks you guys have those limitations over there. And yes, with your special forces training, they let you own shotguns. That's kind of, I think, rather infuriating. It has to be, at least. Matty B says, that's not even a bad dad joke. Oh. John Coleman says, you need that explained to me? Okay, well, I can't help you. Yeah, you're in Norway. Yes. So, but yes, there are other cases. There are other things out here, chat. And this one, I know people are like, oh my God, this is so cool. It's like, you guys need to slow your roll on this. Slow your roll on this one. So it's out of the Southern District of Mississippi in the Northern Division. That's a confusing way to describe stuff. But anyways, United States of America versus Justin and Bryce Brown. Sounds like a country singer. So anyways, he was charged with knowingly possessing a machine gun in violation of 18 U.S.C. 922.0 and 924A2. This order resolves the motion to dismiss. And he says, yes, 922.0 makes it illegal to possess a machine gun unless that machine gun was lawfully possessed before the date the subsection takes effect, which is May 19th, 1986. The statute criminalizes the mere possession of such weapons without regard to how the possessor uses them. That's true. If the individual purchases the weapon and locks it away in their gun safe for 20 years without touching it, you're just as guilty as one who takes the same weapon out on the public streets and uses it in an aggressive manner. Very true. There's no distinction. And it says, meanwhile, 924A2 is the penalty statute. And you face a possible 10 years in federal prison or a fine of up to $250,000 or both. That said, though, Brown asked the court to dismiss the indictment because he's never been convicted of a felony. He argues the Second Amendment protects him from criminal prosecution under these statutes. And he made an as-applied challenge. And the court points out his argument is once foreclosed by decades of precedent. Not anymore. Not anymore, chat. Not anymore. Not anymore. And they said the Supreme Court established a new historical paradigm for analyzing Second Amendment claims. And this is the Fifth Circuit. Remember, Mississippi is in the Fifth Circuit. So that's why this has to be addressed with the Fifth Circuit. And this is a case referencing New York State and Rifle Pistol Association versus Boone. Every appellate court's prior precedent was rendered obsolete. It says, under the new standard, it must prove that its desired firearm restriction, which means the statute criminalizing machine gun possession, is consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. And now remember, they don't have to find a historical twin, but they have to find a historical analog. And they say, they must consider whether modern historical regulations impose a comparable burden on the right of the armed self-defense, and whether that burden is comparably justified. And they say the government found this out the hard way in Morgan. And he says there, Judge Brooms observed that Congress did not ban machine gun possession until 1986. The modern ban is inconsistent with history and tradition. That says even today, in fact, it is perfectly legal for a person who has not been divested of his rights to possess and acquire a machine gun lawfully, so long as it was possessed before the relevant date in 1986. Remember, it's May 19th, 1986. That was the final day you could buy a brand new machine gun as a private citizen. So every machine gun in America, chat, that you can go out and buy right now as a private citizen, excluding dealer samples and then, dealer pre-86 samples, all those like the fucking little, and that's the problem with the NFA, chat. There's all kinds of like little exceptions here and there of like things that are existing, like the Stempel M60s and all the garbage. Just like I'm talking about just a generic machine gun made in May 19th, 1986. That is the newest you can have of a brand new machine gun. So every machine gun is almost 40 years old now, chat, at minimum. And a lot of them are even older than that. Like World War II stuff is 80 some years old, even older than that. World War I stuff is over 100 years old now. Kia Patrick says, I wish my mom bought a Glock 18 when she could have. I will tell you, there are all kinds of stories I've heard from people, on the internet. And it's like, they were like, yeah, it was like 1985. And I was looking at buying like a Sarco M60 for like $1,700. And at the time, I just couldn't swing it. And I didn't think about it. It's like, God, I wish I would have now. We talked about this before. Go look at the machine gun ads from the late 80s, even into the early 90s and the mid 90s. Like an MP40 was still like $2,000. There was all kinds of shit that was available, sadly. But it's all gone. It's all gone. Tim Beatty saying Glock 18s are all post-86. I believe so. I don't think there are any. There might be some pre-86 dealer samples, but that's a separate thing there. So, I have no sympathy for the boomers and Xers that missed out. You had it too good and you squandered it. Well, the Gen X wouldn't have been able to buy guns in 1986. The boomers would have been. So, the NFA is unconstitutional. It is, but for now, it's the law of the land. So, yeah. Maddie says you couldn't import full auto foreign weapons. Prior to 1968, you could. Prior to 1968, you could. So, you could prior to 68, and that's where all the laws get weird. And I'm probably going to work with Matt, like wanting to do like a big breakdown of all these things, like a series. I think it'd be a lot of fun for us to do. But yes, you could have that. Yes, before COVID, you could get a Mac 10 for like $2,500, and now they're $8,000. Yes, well, that's part of it because Lage is like the Lage uppers are coming out, so now you could turn a Mac 10 into a full auto, 5.56 rifle or a belt fed. There's all kinds of shit there. So there's all kinds of stuff there. There's all kinds of stuff there. Did I say pre-68, not pre-86? I'm sorry, yes. If you're pre-Gun Control Act, you could import automatic weapons. Yes, the Gun Control Act fucked a lot of things. So. People who are in the home defense league, where you have full auto at home. Yes, I know in some of the countries, the Scandinavian countries, you can do that, like Finland, and in Sweden, you get to take home your battle rifle, but like you can't do a lot with it. And I'm probably sure it's similar restrictions in Norway too. So, I did say 68. Okay, well, American Legend says, I'm enjoying my ice cream. I earned it today. I dropped 40 pounds. Congrats, man. Congrats. But anyways, let's get back to this here. I'm not as far along as that, but I'm getting pretty close to you. Getting pretty close to you, actually. From my birthday. So, anyways, it says the government has appealed Morgan as an outlier. And it's being appealed. But outliers can nevertheless be instructive and correct so long as there are faithful applications of the law. Outlier cases are to be expected in the wake of Bruin. As there will be in cases which the government does a better job identifying the analogs or showing how the conduct fits into regulation, there will be cases in which the government does not do those things. The courts must consider each case on its own merits. So, we're going to see here. And they said, the Fifth Circuit said, we sympathize with the desire to articulate a bright line rule that district courts could apply going forward, but do respect the Second Amendment doctrine will develop more fully as things go along. A piecemeal approach to laws like 922G3 and determine the contours of acceptable prosecutions is what Bruin and Rahimi require. And they say they decline to get involved in that. So where do we get from here? Well, they talk about the government's arguments. They say that the machine gun ban is lawful because America has a tradition that prohibited firearms that are both dangerous and unusual. Notice, this is a recycled thing you see in government briefs everywhere. We talked about this for the stuff in Illinois. You see this everywhere. They say machine guns are much rarer than semi-automatic pistols and rifles and much more dangerous. And it says a modern machine gun can fire more than 1,000 rounds per minute, allowing to shoot and kill dozens of people within a matter of seconds. And the government concedes that machine guns are sometimes used for lawful purposes, but maintains they can be bad because they're not type of gun typically possessed for traditionally lawful purposes such as self-defense within the home. If they were an M16 was $500, you probably would have it all the time. Most of the citations for these arguments predate Bruin. Many of the remaining claims that focus on the benefits to public safety are policy arguments that are entitled to no weight. And Bruin said the Second Amendment does not permit judges to assess the cost and benefits of firearms restrictions under means and scrutiny. Do the ends justify the means? You're not allowed to do that anymore. Can't do it anymore. And he says the government does ultimately turn to history. Its recitation begins with the Statute of Northampton. Once again, they talk about the shit like that. This is what they have. It's literally, they're all using the same playbook, chat. They're all using the same playbook here. And they continue to do this because this is all they've got. This is all they've got. This is all they'll ever have. Now, they talk about you can't make the offense of riding or going armed punishable by forfeiture of your armor. And they say these examples might support the prosecution of a person charged with terrorizing others with the machine gun. It says, yet they provide no support for the prosecution of this guy. The government has alleged he didn't anything against the public peace. He was not armed offensively, nor was he attempting to terrorize good citizens. He wasn't riding or going anywhere when they caught him. The government instead admits the machine gun was in his house. None of the government's regulations are relevantly similar to criminalizing possession of a firearm in one's home. If anything, history and tradition support Brown's possession of a firearm in his home, and they do. Oh, and they also go back here saying, of course, no armor is sought to be forfeited in this criminal prosecution. So they're saying, we're not asking for armor here. That says, Bruin does tell there is a historical tradition of the carrying of dangerous and unusual weapons, and that laws to be followed. The ultimate problem for the government is this: although machine guns are dangerous, it does not explain how machine guns are unusual. But he says dangerous, and he says revolvers satisfy the ordinary definition of the word dangerous because they could cause bodily harm. Yet they're legal for a law-abiding person to possess in their home. They point out, like, this is just getting nonsense here. And it says semi-automatic weapons are more dangerous than a revolver. They too can and do cause serious harm. And they talk about I love this when I read it, the ripples of fear reverberating throughout our nation in the wake of the horrific mass shootings in Las Vegas, Orlando, Blacksburg, Sandy Hook, Sutherland Springs, El Paso, Uvalde, Lewiston, Parkland, San Bernardino, Binghamton, Fort Hood. And they just go on and on and on and on and on. It's like fucking A. Yet millions of them in both their handgun and long gun forms are perfectly legal to possess. True. And he says machine guns are even more dangerous. There's no dispute about that. But the above example illustrates that dangerousness is not the end of the matter because firearms can be dangerous and constitutionally protected. And that brings us to the other element, unusual. And yes, the Morgan case says there were more than 740,000 machine guns possessed in 2021. And that is the rough estimate of the amount of machine guns in circulation, about 740,000 roughly. And this is citing the ATF data, and that's because there is a thing called the NFTFR, the National Firearm Transfer Registry. So that is that is how they get these information here. It's the government hasn't pointed anything else. The courts could accept it as true. And they say 740,000 is no small number. The government presents no explanation for why such a large number is somehow not common. And Merriam's dictionary defines common as other things, such as widespread. 750,000 of any kind of firearm is plainly widespread. And instead of a factual argument about commonality, the government makes a legal argument, which isn't going to work. You're in the fact stage, not the law stage right now. The government's asking for a fact. Now, this does find support for Brown's prosecution in Hollis v. Lynch. And guys, we've talked about this before. Hollis v. Lynch was a case where a couple of guys got the bright idea. They went up to the ATF and said, hey, ATF, we created some trust. Technically, the trust can own a machine gun. We want to register some AR-15 lowers. And the ATF let them do it. And then almost immediately, the ATF's like, we messed up. We need those back. So give them up. And they sued and they lost. So that's what Hollis v. Lynch was. And they say the case where the Fifth Circuit found 922.0 constitutional. The government thinks this is good case law today, despite the Bruin decision. In Hollis, the Fifth Circuit explained the courts determined the commonality using a methodological approaches such as raw number, percentages, proportion, and jurisdiction counting. Applying the methodology to machine guns, the Fifth Circuit found that Hollis does not have numbers to support his claims. I don't think that's a very fair argument. For example, the ATF report Hollis provided showed only 175,000 pre-1986 civilian-owned machine guns. Readers have already noted the problem. The number of machine guns in Hollis differs from the factual record in our case by a factor of 4. The source of the discrepancy is unknown but irrelevant, as an appellate decision finding that X number renders them common as a matter of law does not answer whether 4 times that number is also common. Now, for example, though, they point out that AR-15s alone are common. They're 5% of all firearms in this nation. And another circuit found that large capacity magazines are common because there are 50 million of them in America. And the Fifth Circuit, and they talked about Kitano. The 2 justices argued stun guns are common because there's 200,000 of them in America, and 45 states accept them as a legitimate form of self-defense. But anyways, moving on, the change in every variable, raw number, percentage, or proportion renders our case distinguishable. The methodological approach must be redone. It says here the government presents no facts or figures. It placed all its eggs in one basket. The notion that Hollis is still good law. Hollis, however, may not be good law. And then the Fifth Circuit says Bruin renders our prior precedent obsolete. Obsolete means no longer useful and replaced by something newer. The Fifth Circuit also tells us it has abandoned that prior precedent. In other words, the appellate court has given up and withdrawn from enforcing that precedent. And they point out the government does not acknowledge or mention Diaz, even though it was available when the present motion was briefed. And to further extent confirmation is necessary, a Fifth Circuit decision issued after a briefing closed says Hollis was abrogated. It means it's done, chat. Abrogated means it's no longer there. It's not what you can do anymore. If it's abrogated, it's been basically repealed. It's been overwritten. Now, does that mean that it's effectively by law? It's said it's done? No, it's just these decisions clearly override it. So Hollis is done. And it says, all this should end the discussion. If Hollis was abrogated, then the government has no footing to stand on. This court can't go looking for facts that haven't been presented. The government failed to meet its burden that machine guns are both dangerous and unusual. And under Bruin, it therefore cannot restrict his possession of one in his home. And they say one last argument that machine guns can't be deemed common because they weren't in 1790s America. A non-lawyer might reasonably think that. But the Supreme Court has rejected the idea, holding the Second Amendment protects more than just musket and carbine. Thus, it is legal to own, possess, and use various semi-automatic weapons. It appears that although the Second Amendment's text is fixed, its application keeps up with the times. And it says the age-old problem is how to honor an individual's rights and respect the will of a democratically elected majority. And we look to history to try to find a satisfying answer to that dilemma, but this court has doubts historical approach wielded in these recent cases is the right one. Well, remember, if the left hadn't gotten all retarded, we wouldn't have to do this. Bruin specifically requires judges to follow history and tradition, evaluate whether new laws are relevant and similar to past laws, and determine whether certain firearms are dangerous or unusual. These tests are concerning to many. Well, fuck them. Fuck them. They will continue to generate confused and confusing lower court precedent. Okay, and that's fine. But then he says, take a step back from that for a moment. Take a step back, Chad. Take a step back. What are we taking a step back for? I don't know. What does that mean you can do here? Well, what is the court cautioning us? At their core, the recent Second Amendment cases are predicated upon a lack of trust. Heller, McDonald, and Bruin did not trust that local and state lawmakers had protected their citizens' Second Amendment rights, or would protect them going forward. The decisions also expressed doubt that federal courts were going to do enough to protect those rights. New boundaries were set. And that's been true. That's true. Local and state governments have abused. I mean, think about it. You go to New York, you go to California, this Second Amendment has not been protected. Has not been protected. And federal courts have not done their job to protect the rights. And he says they use history as a first and more important test of legality, as if history would be a more trustworthy and reliable guide to constitutional law. He says the ultimate irony is that the version of history endorsed in these and other decisions has been deemed untrustworthy by actual historians. Well, yeah, well, that's actually, yes, amazing. Yes, you're finding historians who don't agree. Fuck them. The experts don't think lawyers and judges have gotten it right. And unfortunately, the lack of trust inherent in these decisions cannot be entangled from the public's declining trust in Article 3 itself. And Article 3 means of the Constitution. And he says, as one of those tasked with applying these new tests, this court understands the confusion. It feels the frustration, but it doubts and disclosure, no matter how serious or justified, cannot deter it from faithfully applying the law, even if that application is later found to be erroneous. The controlling standard of the moment requires this court to determine the contours of acceptable prosecutions through the resolution of continual as applied challenges based on the evidence and arguments before it. Under that standard, the challenge is sustained, his motion is granted, and the case is dismissed. And I will say Carlton Reeves did it like a G. He clearly doesn't agree with it, but he did it anyway. He did it anyway. Give him credit for that. Give him credit for that. Most folks saying, wish my dad didn't get rid of his M16. Yeah. Yep. So let me see here. What are you guys looking at? Yeah, so this is left-wing revisionist historians, yeah. Yep. Yeah. But he did it. He held it up the right way. Now, what does this mean for everybody? This just means in that court and that judge for that defendant, because this isn't as applied to him, and it's in a criminal case, it only applies to him. This isn't a lawsuit, so that's not allowed. Like, it's not what you guys think it is. It's not the kind of challenge we want. So yeah. But it is very interesting. So we will find out. Yes, he did put the fries in the bag. We'll find out remember, because the DOJ is in charge of this. Is Pam Bondi going to appeal this? She might say, nope, we'll let it slide. So, how many clickbait videos got made because of this, though? Because they're all fucking shills. And I'm probably going to have to make one myself. So, and then the next one, this is a bit of an issue here. This came out of the Fifth Circuit. So the same place that governs over Mississippi, Texas, and Louisiana. And chat, this is going to be our last story for the night. This is the U.S. versus George Peterson. Appealed from the Eastern District of Louisiana. So this guy got found guilty of possessing an unregistered suppressor in violation of the NFA. He tried two things: a motion to dismiss on Second Amendment grounds and a motion to suppress on the Fourth Amendment grounds. And they say because suppressors do not trigger the Second Amendment protection, they're saying don't care. Now, we're not worried about the Fourth Amendment issue here. We're worried about the Second Amendment issue here. So anyways, they executed a warrant at his business. They operated out of his house. And according to the ATF agent, he didn't do, as far as what he was doing, he didn't report the sale of handguns as part of the ATF's rules of 527 CFR requirement that he must. In other instances, an undercover agent patronized him with a CI. And even though Peterson was aware the informant could not purchase a firearm, he nevertheless sold the agent 2 firearms after watching the informant hand the agent money for purchase. So they literally did a straw purchase in front of him, and he sold him guns like a dumb fuck. He failed to report this transaction as well. And because of all of this, the ATF believed that Peterson also had violated 18 U.S.C. 1001. By representing in his federal firearms application, he would only conduct business at gun shows and out of a leased storage unit. Oof, jeez. Way to fuck yourself over. But that is true. When you apply for an FFL, you have to tell them what you plan on doing and how you're doing stuff, chat. So in light of this information, they searched his home, and there they found a bunch of things. The next day, they discovered a firearm suppressor inside his bedroom closet safe. Interestingly, he did not purchase the suppressor from a manufacturer. He did a homemade kit. He bought an oil filter or an oil trap, a solvent trap, as they're found. The suppressor was working in condition, but it had neither a serial number nor was registered in the National Firearms Registration and Transfer Record, the NFRTR, as I mentioned before. So he was charged with possession of unregistered suppressors. Now remember, chat, this is the interesting part. He's charged under 26 USC. Title 26 is the tax code. Remember, the NFA itself is a tax. And it wasn't until 18 USC 922 when we started making it a criminal offense. So in response, he made an argument that the indictment should be dismissed because the regulations violate the Second Amendment. So the district court denied both of his motions, including his Fourth Amendment issue. But like I said, we're not going to focus on that, chat, because we need to get done here. So he agreed to plead guilty conditionally. He reserved the right to appeal denial of both the motion dismissed and the suppression. He got 24 months imprisonment and timely appealed the two issues. First is the NFA suppressor registration is unconstitutionally burdensome. And they say, because we conclude suppressors are not arms, within the Second Amendment's purview, we disagree. So we're now getting to the ideas of Bruin, and they say we have to do the two-step analysis. We've already gone through that, and we have to say, does the plain text cover individuals' conduct? And then they say the Second Amendment extends prima facie to all instruments that constitute bearable arms, even those that were not in existence at the time of the founding. They say, as both parties agree, arms comprise weapons of offense, armor of defense, and anything that a man wears for his defense, takes into his hands, or useth in wrath to cast or strike at another. They say that as a constituent arm, the object in question must be a weapon. And they say that means because the Second Amendment allows you to possess and carry weapons. And they say whether the suppressors constitute arms is an issue of first impression in our circuit. The National Firearms Act considers it a firearm. It's considered a firearm under federal law. Yes, Chad, it is. It's considered a firearm under federal law. Even though it's just a metal tube, it's still considered a firearm. So they say the 10th Circuit, as far as we can tell, every court has addressed this question in the negative. The 10th Circuit adopted just that position in 2018. Just last month, the 4th Circuit agreed. And they say district courts from at least two other circuits have reached the same conclusion. Although the other case the 5th Circuit has, it just says our previous firearms law is obsolete. But apparently they're going to go back to 2018 here, which is a little fucking disingenuous of them. Which is very disingenuous. Ag is saying it's a firearm. What? Yes, it's 100% a firearm under federal law. Under federal law, it is considered a firearm. It's part of the National Firearms Act. And we'll bring it up here. (26 U.S.C. 5841). Let's see here. Subchapter, part 1. 5845, chat. Here we go. Definitions. The purpose of this chapter: firearm means any of these things. A shotgun having a barrel of less than 18 inches in length. A weapon made from a shotgun if such weapon is modified has, all these blah, 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 blah. It says a machine gun. And then it says any silencer is a firearm. The term firearm means 7, any silencer. So yes, under federal law, it's a silencer. So silencer is a firearm. So that's there. And then Peterson posits that suppressors are an integral part of a firearm and therefore warrant Second Amendment protection. Inasmuch as a bullet must pass through an attached suppressor to arrive at its intended target, suppressors are used for casting and striking, and thus fit Heller's definition. But that is wrong. A suppressor by itself is not a weapon. Without being attached to a firearm, it would not be much use for self-defense. The same thing would apply to a magazine. And unless the suppressor itself is thrown, which of course is not how firearms work, it cannot do any casting or striking. And they say, well, a suppressor might prove useful to one casting or striking at another. That doesn't transform a gas dissipator into a bullet caster. Instead, they agree that a suppressor is a firearm accessory and not a weapon. That's literally a direct opposition to what the law says. And notice, like, I guess that wasn't made as a proper argument here. So they say, accordingly, he has not shown that the NFA's registration scheme burns a right. And they say, attempting to broaden the scope, he points to Miller, and he says that case stands for the proposition that arms includes the proper accoutrements that render the firearm useful and functional. And they said the Supreme Court did not identify this principle in Heller's extensive treatment of Miller. They say his suppressor is hardly the sort of accoutrement Miller contemplated. Rather, the 1785 Virginia statute quoted in Miller used language that described items like gunpowder, lead, and cartridges. And they say, well, items necessary to maintain the operation, not just compatible with it. And they say, as the government explains, an operable firearm will work perfectly well without a suppressor, but a suppressor will not transform an inoperable firearms into an operable one. Sometimes it can, but even then, it's still, under federal law, it's considered a firearm. And this is what happens when your attorneys don't know what the fuck they're doing. So, and they say the same point dispenses with the other scope-based arguments. The right to possess firearms implies a corresponding right to acquire and maintain the proficiency in their use. So, and they said the core right wouldn't mean much without training. The practice makes it effective. So it concluded Chicago's citywide firing range ban was unlikely to pass Second Amendment muster. Even if we were only to follow Zelle, it can hardly be said that suppressor regulation has rendered the right to bear arms meaningless. Use of suppressor, as we noted above, is not necessary for the use of firearm. So it is not protected by the plain text of the Second Amendment. And they say the Second Amendment is not offended by the NFA regulation, so we affirm the denial of the motion to dismiss. Now they go on to the Fourth Amendment stuff here. That's not as important for what we're talking about. But the Fifth Circuit has said now a silencer is not a firearm, even though it clearly is a firearm under the federal law they're prosecuting him for. Make that make sense to me. Make that make sense. I can't make that make sense to me, chat. So I'm out. Nothing we can do about it now. Hopefully people get some things going and some of these cases get overturned. Maybe the guy gets an en banc hearing. But yeah, for right now, this is getting a little retarded. Just a little bit. So the Prestige 10 says these faggot judges always interpret the law in a way that benefits the state. Well, yeah, that's why they're judges. Ammo's currency saying so bayonets are not protected. Yeah, I mean, how would that work? It's an accoutrement, so. But I guess the idea you can make with the bayonet is I could still stab you with it and kill you with the bayonet. So. Let me see here. The end is near. What do I do if I lost four paper stamps? And I do need to print out my new e-stamps. You don't have to print them out, but it's never a bad idea if you do take your NFA items somewhere. It's not a bad idea to bring your stamps with you. Because for some reason, let's say like a police officer gets involved, you could at least show them you have proof. You don't ever have to show them because it's not an obligation. But instead of him seizing your shit and then getting a lawyer and fighting over it for like, a couple of months, it's sometimes easier just to have them on hand. It makes things safer. No muss, no fuss. It's not a bad idea. If you had actual physical stamps and you've lost them, I don't know how old you are. The end is near, but as long as you've done it in the past couple of years, you can contact the ATF and get a copy of your thing because they should have a copy of it too. Now, if you're really worried about that, you should contact an attorney and let them do it. Because let's say you try it and it turns out, let's say, God forbid, the ATF doesn't have a record, which one of my friends, one of my clients who's an SOT out in Toledo, he had mentioned before that when the ATF was doing an inventory, they said, hey, do you have your stamps for your NFA items? And, he's like, yeah, here you go. And he's like, oh, we didn't actually even know you had this one. Like, they didn't have it in the records. And that's the ATF's records are shit. There is a court case out of Kansas where the ATF had to admit the NFRTR is fucking garbage. So, but yes, a lawyer can contact the ATF on your behalf, and then there's no requirement. They cannot be forced to reveal your identity because that breaches attorney-client privilege. So, there are ways of having intermediates go out and do stuff on your behalf. It's not a bad idea. So, yeah, you can keep your e-stamps on your phone. It's not a bad idea. So, not a bad idea. But yeah, you're going to have to go back and get the other paper stamps. And hopefully it's not, you're looking for a stamp from like 1985 because that's probably going to be tough to find. But hopefully it's a more recent stamp. Nero was saying, what's the long run electronic triggers? Well, you're going to have to be like, I mean, it's still kind of up in the air because we're dealing with binary triggers now, and I think there's going to be more there. Alberto says SEAL Team Dev Shangru. I don't get it. So, Axe says that Kansas court judge is from New Orleans. He's also a Tulane grad. Lol. Yeah. Chuck Keeber says the ATF is shit. It should be abolished. Yes, Chuck, I agree fully. But right now it's not. And it doesn't look like Pam Bondi's going to do anything to help us in that regard, which fucking sucks. Because, hey, you know what, though? We can't win them all. We can't win them all, Chad. I guess we're going to have to deal with it. So. Oh, Barto says all DevGru is watching you, homeboy. Okay. Thanks. Oh, all of DevGru? All the squadrons? Red, blue, gold, and green? Black and silver? That'd be pretty dope. American Legend says, where can you get e-stamps? I had no idea that existed. You can do e-forms for a lot of things for the ATF. Actually, there is an entire website for this. And hold on here, I'll show you. You're going to have to log in and register and sign up. Oh God, is this going to load anytime soon? Because I can show you guys. Nate says, I'm pretty satisfied with my country's gun laws. Pretty good, 9 out of 10. Yeah, so let's see here. Will this pop up? Yes. Okay, here you go, chat. I'll show you here. So this is the eForms website, and you can do eForms. So you can do ATF Form 6, Form 6A, Form 1, Form 2, Form 3. So Form 1 is the registration, the application, make and register a firearm. So you're going to make it yourself. A Form 2 is the notice of a manufactured or imported firearms. Form 3 is the application for a tax-exempt transfer to a special occupation taxpayer, an SOT, meaning generally you're somebody who does work on these or you're doing something involving that. You're in a special class on your own already. Form 4 is the application to transfer an already existing item. So you're buying a suppressor or a short-barreled rifle. There's Form 5, the transfer and registration of firearms. Form 9, the permit for permanent exportation. And Form 10, the registration of firearms acquired by certain governmental entities. And then there is the annual exportation reporting that's required depending on what you're doing. But this is an entire thing. And then you could find ones that have been abandoned. You could find approved, conditionally approved, disapproved, weighted. The drafts, no permits are required. Partial approval, pending research. Return for corrections, return without actions, revoked, submitted in process. withdrawn, void, and they're like, they give you all kinds of options of different forms that are out there, but it does exist. It does exist. So, yeah, Matty B says everybody forgets about the revenuers. Yeah, well, American Legend says like an editable PDF. Yeah, kind of. So yeah, e-forms are not a bad idea. They process a little quicker than the mail anyway. So yeah. Peyton Huang is saying e-stamps equal gun registry. Buddy, all the stamps are a gun registry. The 4473 is a gun registry. Everything's a gun registry. Said by guy who bought a factory SBR. Yeah, well, yeah. Also, NFA stamps or tax documents, cops don't have access to the NFA database. No, but the feds will give them access at any point. Zero MSS says my last e-form one was like 70 hours. Yeah, sometimes they're super quick. Ed says the average wait time for a Form 4 is 20 days right now, which is better because it used to be like, 12 to 18 months, chat. 12 to 18 months. So they handle the form on there, and once you fill out and submit, yeah. So the way it works, American Legend, is you're going to go to like a UPS store, you get your fingerprints scanned in the system, and then you bring a thumb drive, and they give you that file, and you save that file on your computer. It's a special like ETF file. And when you're filling out your forms, you add it to the form, and it's in the format that the ATF accepts, and your picture get added, and you're boom, 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 done. So yeah. Yes. The type 7 type 7 and 02 SOTs, it's about a day, and that makes sense for them. So it should be a day for everybody, but whatever. So yeah. So with that said, chat, we are all done for the day. Thank you all for being here. It's 12:30. Fuck. We went long 3 hours. God, you guys hung in there like troopers. 490 of you guys. Thank you. Let's double check to see what else we got here. Jefferson Post says, would you be a foamer for steam planes? Jefferson Post says Bronca took issue with the judge doing an as-applied challenge. If the defendant did an as-applied challenge, you're kind of stuck with that. I mean, like, it's a criminal case. It's a criminal case. That's generally how that works. You're only going to get, if you're going to try to apply it a different way, you can't apply as applied, but if you're going to do a facial challenge, you're generally doing that as a civil suit. As applied is generally what you do in a criminal case. Like, it's affecting me personally. Although we talked about before, many courts basically treat it as the same thing anyway. So, I mean, it's a criminal case. Like, it's only going to affect that guy. So that it is what it is, chat. It is what it is. Fun fact says the time to get an 07 FFL on a Type 2 SOT was quicker than to get an SBR form. That's not a surprise. That's not a surprise. Not a surprise at all. Yeah, Sean is right. Wait times used to be months, if not years. It was a long fucking time for people. People's shit would sit at the gun stores waiting to get bought. Like, they buy it and it'd sit there. So yeah, stuff would take forever. First Form 4 was 8 months. Yeah. Let's see here. Cyberpunk says lol. Suppressors don't exist. It's suppressor L grammar. No, silencers literally exist. They literally exist. Like, they're literally called silencers in the law. Like, it literally is called a silencer. Like, this is 26 USC 5845. And it's literally says silencer. I mean, it literally says silencer. So it's a silencer. Like, it literally says it. I'm just saying, it says silencer. So, and we come back down here and it says, it says silencers. I mean, like, what do you want us to call it? What do you want us to call it? We can call it a suppressor, you can call it a muffler, whatever you want, but it's called a silencer under federal law. So. Stabby said, you're making an appeal to authority. Well, no, I'm just saying under federal law, that's what it's called. So, like, it's an actual legal name for it. So that's kind of like, you can call it a bunch of different things. So, yes, Maxim's original patent was called a silencer. As well. That's a shame. It's good to see you saying, I see a lot of facial challenges of criminal laws. Lack of fair notice, vagueness, regulates speech, sweeps, and unlawful speech. Yeah, and that's true. But like when you win that, you win it for that case. Like I had a case where I was dealing with a guy who the city didn't like, and they were challenging him under, violating his First Amendment rights because he was protesting the government recently, and they kind of like waffled on it. But we were going to win that. And even if we won and the judge struck it down, it's, really only for this guy at the end of the day. So, by this logic, AR-15s are assault rifles. Well, an AR-15 is basically an M16. I do agree with Matt and Ivan on that point. They're basically the same fucking thing. So. So Tim Beatty saying there's no suppressor stamps. Yeah. Whatever. Anyways, you guys want to be weirdos about it, but that's just that's the way it is. All right, chat. So we're done for the day. We are done for the day. We'll see what happens with some of these gun laws. Let's hope the SHUSH Act gets going. But I mean, remember, we thought the Hearing Protection Act was going to be great. Don Jr. was going to be the firearms Second Amendment liaison for Donnie. Hopefully Donnie's had a change of heart, and it sounds like he's on the warpath now. Like, if we can get them deregulated, oh my God, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Getting SBRs and silencers off the NFA. That'd be a great start. It'd be a great start, but let's see what we can get. Let's see what we can get. So, let's see. Cheesy Tyrion says, can I use a pistol brace? Or maybe. For right now, you can. I mean, there's an enjoining on it. And yes, the ATF doesn't believe they don't think that's correct. But right now, there's a federal nationwide injunction on it. So, I mean, you can. So, Shinobu was saying, get the full auto ban repealed. Well, that's not going to happen. Remember, I told you. You're not going to get you need 9 Clarence Thomases to let you have machine guns. So, it ain't happening. So, with that said, chat, we are all done. And, yeah, thank you for everybody being here on Rumble, on Twitter, and here on YouTube. We got one more super chat in here. That's a shame saying, remember, Trump's presidency was willed by a god. Yes, it was. The emperor of mankind and of our hearts. Of our hearts, chat. So, there you go. Oh. So, thank you. That's a shame. Guys, remember, we are heading straight over to locals after this. Join us, promo code WHIPIT. We're heading right there. There's going to be no break. We're just going to need like 5 minutes to switch over. So with that said, chat, we will see you guys tomorrow. I'll be joining Nick Starro at 7. We'll be finishing up. After that, we will go right into taking care of ASAP Rocky a little bit there. And I'm not sure what else we're going to do. I'm trying to work on this guest. I got to reach out. Hopefully we can link up tomorrow and talk. It'll be pretty fucking cool. It'll be pretty funny. I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be some good shit. If we can make this work. So with that said, chat, keep your eyes peeled this weekend. We might be working on some stuff. And just remember until next time, chat. Remember until next time. Just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. It doesn't mean you're guilty. Most of the time, it doesn't mean you're guilty. But if you do some dumb stuff like leaking unauthorized accessing your employer's computers, that can make you guilty. That can make you just a little guilty. That can make you a little guilty, along with some other stuff out there. But apparently, if you're Justin Bryce Brown, you're not guilty, man. Rock on with your bad self and your machine guns. Rock on with your bad self and your machine guns. Good for you, dude. Good for you. So with that said, chat, I will talk to you guys later. And you guys have a great night. I'll see you guys over at Locals. And if not, otherwise, take care.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. But please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy?